To the full council meeting, and can I invite John to take the roll call, notice and summon of meetings, members' attendance and apologies.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, members. To all members of Derry City and Strabane District Council, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the council, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically here in the council chamber in the Guilds Hall, Wednesday, 20th of November at 2 o'clock. Alderman Cook.
Online, John.
Alderman Guy. Alderman Hussey.
Aye.
Alderman Carrigan. Alderman McMorris.
Here.
Alderman Middleton.
She's going to be joining us soon.
Alderman Montgomery.
Here.
Alderman Wilkinson.
John.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor Lillian Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor Raymond Barr. Councillor Boggs.
Shaw, John.
Councillor Boyle.
Here.
Councillor Clark.
And Shaw.
Councillor Cusick.
Here.
Councillor Deeney.
Shaw.
Councillor Devine.
Shaw.
Councillor Donnelly.
Shaw.
Councillor Alex Duffy. Councillor Sandra Duffy.
And Shaw.
Councillor Farrell.
Online.
Councillor Fleming.
And Shaw.
Councillor Gallagher.
Shaw.
Councillor Harkin. Councillor Hart.
And Shaw.
Councillor Heaney.
Shaw.
Councillor Hutton.
Shaw.
Councillor Jackson.
Shaw.
Councillor Leonard.
Shaw.
Councillor Logue.
And Shaw.
Councillor McDade.
Here.
Councillor McGinley.
Shaw.
Councillor McHugh. Councillor Mooney. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Norris.
Apologies.
Councillor O'Farrell.
Shaw, John.
Councillor Riley. Councillor Tierney.
Here.
And Councillor Nealis.
Shaw.
Thank you, members. Members, just before I pass back to the mayor, just to let you know, the main projector that is hung from the ceiling for this screen is broken. So there's a temporary projector on a black box here. And just to let you know, there's quite a bright light comes from this temporary little box to the screen. So if you're walking before it, maybe just don't look into it. It is quite bright. Okay.
Okay, members, the next agenda item is broadcasting statement. I would like to remind everyone physically present at this meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight or request to speak. A copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council's website. Okay, next agenda item is declaration of members' interest. If any member has any interest to declare, you can do so now. Councillor McDade.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to be on the safe side, Councillor Harkin has a motion in about the pay award for health service workers, and that would impact me if the back pay was awarded. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Christopher Jackson.
Mayor, on the same motion, an employee of the Western Health and Social Care Trust.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm not sure if I should, but I'm going to do it just to be safe. The same motion would impact my household income.
Okay.
My wife's an employee of the trust.
Anyone else? Okay, all right. Alderman.
Just a family member that works in the trust as well.
Okay. If there are any others, please feel free. And anyone online, you can just indicate there.
Mayor.
Yeah.
During governance and strategic, I have an issue in the minutes of governance and strategic and will withdraw from the meeting during that.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, members. Agenda item 5 is chairperson's business. I have a couple of chairperson's business, so I will just call people as they contacted me, and I have one for myself, starting with Councillor Tierney.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much for allowing me on under Chairperson's business. Madam Mayor, you'll be aware, and most other members will be aware, that earlier this month, a party colleague of ours unfortunately passed away. Paul Boyle was the brother of Councillor John Boyle, who's next to me, but Paul was also a very valued and trusted member of our party for many, many years. We, as a party, knew that when we needed volunteers or we needed help, not just at election time, but any time throughout the year, that Paul was always someone that we could call on, and he would do his best to help us out. So, Madam Mayor, although John is here as his brother, I think it would be fitting that you send a letter to Paul's father, Michael, and the extended Boyle family to express the condolences of this council on his untimely passing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. And I think every member here would send their deep condolences to you and your family, and I'll be obliged to send that letter. Thank you. Members, I have my own chairperson's business, and it is in response to criticism surrounding the recent trade mission to the United States. I want to clarify its purpose and to address any misunderstanding. And I have also reached out to Catherine Houghton, the chair of IPSC Dairy Branch, to whom I fully support their objective for a meeting which is scheduled to take place this Friday on the 22nd of November to clarify this matter and to discuss the same matter. Members, the trade mission undertaken jointly with our Donegal partners was focused solely on promoting the Northwest City region as a vibrant and attractive region for investment, tourism, education, and business development. This mission was funded by the Northern Ireland West Development Group, which is supported by the Executive Office, Northern Ireland, and the Irish government. The mission was about economic growth, creating jobs, and fostering opportunities for the people of our city and region. Participants included Ulster University, Northwest Regional College, an Irish word here, which is Udas na Culture. You can help. Thank you. Londonderry Chambers of Commerce, Donegal County Council, and Donegal Local Enterprise Office. 5 businesses from across the Northwest City region representing our key growth sectors also travel. It is important to distinguish between this type of economic engagement and political endorsement. While our council has adopted policies in solidarity with Palestine, including opposing investment tied to the arms trade or profiting from conflict, there has never been a vote in this council to avoid engagement with politicians to promote economic growth for our city and region. And if there is one, I would please ask that you provide one to me. To suggest that participation in this trade mission equates to supporting genocide is deeply misleading and unfair. Our engagement with politicians and stakeholders in the United States was purely to advocate for our region, its people, and its economic future. It does not imply agreement with or endorsement of all political positions held by those we engage with. Our city's solidarity with Palestine and our commitment to human rights remain unwavering. At the same time, it is our duty to represent the Northwest on the global stage, ensuring our region is seen as a place for opportunities. Engagement is a tool for dialogue and progress, not an endorsement of policies we may fundamentally disagree with. We are committed to fostering economic growth while upholding our values of justice, peace, and human rights. And I welcome constructive discussion on how we can continue to achieve both. Thank you. Councillor Christopher Jackson.
Madam Mayor, and thank you for bringing this meeting's attention to this issue. The Northwest trade visit to America is an important opportunity for us to showcase the Northwest. It's an opportunity for us to sell the Northwest region as a region, and they maximize potential investment and they support local businesses. And from our party's perspective, we appreciate the efforts of yourself and officers in doing just that. In relation to the issue around Palestine, and I respectively disagree with some of the commentary that was made by yourself there now, and it is in the same vein of as constructive criticism. There is a genocide that's happening in Palestine. It is, and there's been the slaughter of Palestinians, particularly over the past year, has been a focus of this council, and our support to the Palestinian people has been unwavering in this council chamber. And I know yourself, Mayor, have joined in demonstrating that support. But from our party's perspective, we feel that it's not just good enough that we show our support locally, that we demonstrate our support locally, that we feel that whatever platform that we have, we should use. We should use every platform available to us to be a voice for peace, to be a voice for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people don't have the opportunities that we have. They be calling out and demanding ceasefires and calling out the flagrant breaches of international law by an Israeli regime. So we feel that if there was any opportunity available, that we should take it, and that we should use any platform that we're given, any opportunity that arises to be that voice for the people of Palestine and to be that voice for peace and demand an end to the genocide that's playing out in front of all of us on a daily basis. So I am disappointed that we didn't take that opportunity to be that voice for the Palestinian people. And that's the point that I wanted to respectively disagree. I think in any delegations that are representing this council, any opportunities that should arise, we should use them. We should be a voice for the people of Palestine. We should reflect the views of the people of this city and district by calling for a ceasefire, by using any influence that are available to call for peace in Palestine and allow and demand humanitarian aid is given safe passage and unobstructed access to the people that are badly in need of it in the Gaza Strip. So I just wanted to make that very clear in the outset, is that our concerns are solely that around the fact that we didn't use this opportunity to be a voice for the Palestinian people. And I know the visit was labelled as a trade visit and a very important trade visit, but it shouldn't exclude and it shouldn't silence us from being that voice and demanding that those that are supporting a genocide or supporting the Israeli regime, that we shouldn't demand that they reconsider their approach and that they need to face up the huge humanitarian crimes that are that are being carried out by the Israeli regime. So that's, and really, I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to discuss this at this meeting, and thanks again. Thanks, Mayor.
You, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for putting this on the agenda, because I had planned to put it on myself because it's that important. But first of all, I want to welcome the campaigners from BDS Strabane who are in the chamber today, and they've distributed a letter. And they are one of many Palestinian organisations in our district who've raised very serious concerns about what happened with our council and Donegal Council's trade visit to the US. I want to say too that we agreed that we would invite BDS Strabane to the next working group meeting quite a while ago, and I've been told that they still haven't received an invitation. So we need to get clarification on that, because prior to this, they wanted to bring some proposals to us about how we could be more effective implementing BDS and standing in solidarity with Palestine. Look, this is straightforward. Timothy Kennedy is a US congressman. He is a massive supporter of the genocide that's happening in Gaza and in Palestine, and by extension, the regional war that the US now is fully complicit in. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is also a big Zionist supporter who actually has argued against reducing the number of weapons that the United States is presently sending to Israel to kill mostly children and women. And the UN has now said that a majority of the people who are being slaughtered are women and are women and children. Up to 70% of those US weapons are killing children. So I would not stand on a platform with either of those people while they are complicit in genocide. They need to be getting. You should have handed them a writ saying that they need to go to the International Criminal Court with the Biden administration. And that's how I think we should be engaging with these people. They're not good people. People who support genocide are not good people. You also said that Timothy Kennedy would be invited to Derry. I don't think Timothy Kennedy right now is welcome in Derry. I think that invitation or that proposal should be withdrawn. We don't want somebody who tops the lists of apex priorities to get re-elected in the last round of elections to be brought to Derry and praised for his work while he is now completely complicit in the slaughter of Palestinians. So I think that I think Palestinian solidarity groups are right to be very critical because we have a BDS policy. And Mayor, you've said that there's a lack of clarity. For me, it's clear. I would not be standing with either of those who are US politicians who are backing slaughter. But this is not an isolated incident, Mayor. And I just want to point out that in Belfast last week, we had a conference at Queen's University sponsored by Lockheed Martin, where Hillary Clinton, Joe Kennedy, two of the biggest supporters of the genocide in Gaza, were welcomed, where students were beaten up, where there was an attempt by the press to make it seem like it wasn't students that were protesting. And there was no challenge by the leader of the SDLP when she was on a platform with Hillary Clinton to her support for a genocide. There was no challenge by the First Minister to Joe Kennedy or Hillary Clinton when they were here in Belfast. So there's a problem here of parties who say they support BDS, picking and choosing when they think it's appropriate to actually take a stand. I think we need to be far more systematic about what BDS means. We've had a year-long genocide right now, and Israel are clearly not going to stop because the United States has not been forced. Nobody is willing to stand up to the United States and tell them that their support for genocide needs to end. And if the US did that, we wouldn't be witnessing the scenes that we're seeing right now of ethnic cleansing of the north of Gaza and bombing right across Lebanon, slaughtering people, destroying cities. So I think that this is a very serious matter. And I think that the engagement now with the Palestine solidarity campaigns about BDS, about what BDS actually means, I think it's important for that to happen for our council, but also not just in our council. This has to be done, I believe, right across the board, because there's too many instances where BDS seems to me to be getting thrown out the window because it's not deemed to be politically appropriate. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to discuss this because on other platforms there has been plenty of discussion around this over recent days. I want to point out, first of all, in relation to Councillor Harkin talking about parties paying lip service to BDS. The former Derry City Council adopted a very similar position to this council around BDS in 2009. That proposal was brought by the former leader of the SDLP, Colm Eastwood, in conjunction with a former Sinn Féin councillor, Jerry McLaughlin, in 2009. That's how long we have been committed to the BDS policies. I would also point out that in relation to this discussion and the meetings, which I will address shortly, but in relation to this discussion, Councillor Harkin is also talking about BDS and us not implementing BDS, et cetera, and there may be some work to do around that. And if there is work to do around that, we are certainly up for that. And I think the offer of an invitation to Strabane BDS campaigners should be issued as soon as possible, and as soon as we can get them on, we should do that. But I want to point out, there is nothing under the BDS guidelines that permits anybody from meeting with anybody. That's the first point. So when Councillor Harkin is talking about this and referencing BDS and us not sticking to BDS policies, he's actually wrong, because there's nothing in it about it. That's the first point. In relation to the meeting, or the meeting, if you want to call it that, with Timothy Kennedy, I think it's important to point out, Mayor, and you and I have had a long discussion, numerous discussions about this since you came back. I think it's important to point out, if you don't mind on your behalf, that the Mayor didn't actually know who Timothy Kennedy was before she met with him. Nor did she know that he was going to be at the same event that she was at. It just so happened that Timothy Kennedy was at the same event that the Mayor attended. The Mayor spoke to him, didn't know who he was until it was made clear to her via social media channels who he was. After that, the Mayor had a conversation with Timothy Kennedy and pointed out her position around and her opposition to his support for Israel. So I agree with Councillor Jackson when he talks about a platform for peace and a voice for peace. That was made clear when it was made clear to the Mayor who this gentleman was. And I appreciate that you may not have had the opportunity to hear that, but I think it's important that you hear it now. Councillor Harkin also talked about this trip, and he wouldn't stand on a platform with anyone like that, and he may have a point. But I would point out that on the 9th of July this year, this trip was presented to this council through the Business and Culture Committee. In attendance at that meeting was Councillor Harkin. Not once did he ask, who would you be meeting? What was this deputation going for? According to the minutes of that meeting and the YouTube video which I have watched, he didn't mention it. But he wants to come in here now and criticise people after the fact. If Councillor Harkin wants to be critical, that's fine. But let's try and be proactive into the bargain as well. It was also ratified at the July Fall Council meeting. In attendance at that meeting was Councillor Harkin, who again was silent, but wants to come in here and vilify people for trying to create investment opportunities here. I think it's also important to point out, Mayor, that there was no official invitation given to Timothy Kennedy to visit Derry by you or by anyone else. I think that's important as well. I think one of the main important things, since we as a council started discussing this last year, and we as a city and district have, is our strength and solidarity. I think that's incredibly important. I think it's a symbol that can go out across the world about the strength and solidarity that we have in this district for the people of Palestine. But people trying to nitpick and score political points on it here is not helpful. And I've said that about other people who have openly opposed motions around this issue. But Councillor Harkin spent most of the last Westminster election criticising people because he didn't agree with his point, particularly around the two-state solution. I think it's time that we let that go, that we decided now, and we continue to be united on this. We make sure that coming out of this chamber and this city and district is a strong voice for peace in Palestine, and not this childish nitpicking to score points or to get press releases through Derry Daily's platform on social media, because that's all that it seems to be doing, in my view. Madam Mayor, I think it's important that this council was represented in America. I think it's important that we as a council do our due diligence ahead of those visits any longer, or any more, sorry. But to come on now and criticise it when you had the opportunity to do that due diligence is below standards, in my opinion. And I think people should reflect on that as they are asking you to reflect on the visits that you had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Tierney. Councillor Harkin, you're looking to come in to respond?
Well, yeah, look, I think it seemed like Councillor Tierney spent most of his time criticising me and calling this nitpicking. The criticisms that I've raised today are not mine. They're the criticisms of the Palestine Solidarity Movement. There's a letter here from BDS Strabane. I'm not the author of this. So you're not just speaking to me, you're speaking to the people who day in, day out are campaigning for Palestine. And in terms of point scoring, look, people have said to me, Colin Eastwood made a big issue about not going to the White House last year. What's the difference? And that is the issue. The issue is about consistency. And I think you're wrong to try and bend the rules to suit what happened. Look, this was a trade mission. I actually went and Googled the agenda for the trade mission to see if we were meeting with corporations that I would and others might seem to be complicit with the genocide. I Googled to see if we would be meeting with politicians, US politicians that back the genocide. There was nothing on the agenda. There was not. So they were either hiding it because they knew people might be critical, or a lot of these things happened randomly. So, but I think I am completely within my rights to actually be critical, because lots of people are critical. Lots of people see this as what it is. The United States government is the funder for genocide. And we have a policy, we have an economic strategy in the north and the south of this island, which is about trying to entice US investment here, and that many political parties are unwilling to stand up to US representatives because they're afraid of the impact that that will have. This is why Fianna Fáil and Fianna Gael in the south have been completely unwilling to pass the Occupied Territories Bill, because the United States government don't want them to do it. It's why the Dáil government is unwilling to actually end the participation of the Central Bank of Ireland in the selling of Israeli war bonds. They're actually using those war bonds right now to facilitate and fund the slaughter of Palestinian children. So all of this is part of one problem. It's about, we want to have an apartheid-free Ireland, and we can't do that when representatives keep making excuses for meeting with, endorsing, celebrating, and standing with leading US Zionists. So I think that this is not my criticism. This is a criticism that comes from the Palestine Solidarity Movement, and I would urge you to take it up with them and not sit here and blame me for these criticisms.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Donnelly.
Chair, a lot of what's going to say has just been said by Councillor Harkin, and I have to say I find this very worrying. I find that the SDLP, first of all, I think what you've done was completely wrong, and the fact that there's an attempt by the SDLP to back it up, as been mentioned earlier, a lot was made about Sinn Féin's decision to go to the White House, and in a lot of cases the SDLP led the charge. But I have to say that it's deeply, deeply disappointed some of the comments that have been made in your defence, Mayor. About there's nothing in BDS about meeting people, and I suppose that explains why there's been not really any comments on the SDLP sitting in a panel with Lockheed Martin. It probably explains the psychic of why this city, why the SDLP had backed the decision, and he referenced the old Derry City Council, why we had the disgraceful decision to locate an arms manufacturing firm, Raytheon, here. But what it will do, Chair, is that it's sending a message to many, many people outside this chamber who believe that this council is not serious in its BDS, that it will pass motions, has a corporate position, but when it comes to acting on that, that we're just not serious. And that anger is palpable out there, and I think this meeting and the comments made in this meeting today is going to feed into that. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Mayor, I think what done was completely wrong. You may say that you didn't know, but you do know now. And in my opinion, I think you should apologise for that. I can't speak for the SDLP as a group, but if certainly there's going to be a lot of questions asked about some of the comments that have been made here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. A lot has been debated here and about the politics around it, but I suppose just on a personal note for me, whenever I seen the post, it did make me feel uneasy, there's no doubt about it. But I think that what Brian has said about coming together and trying to move forward and draw a line under things, it is important across all the parties. I welcome the fact that you're going to meet with the chairperson of the Derry IPSC on Friday and have the opportunity to speak to them about your rationale and for them to ask you questions and you be able to answer them. For the BDS policy, I think it's worth maybe, and I know there is a BDS working group, and I know Councillor Mooney sits on it for us, but I think it is maybe, is there a way around to discuss at that working group? Is there a way around about tightening up the policy? Does the governance need to be tighter around it? Do we need to have very firm like actions and limitations about interactions that we can have, so that we're not in this position whenever people are on trade missions and they meet people and it's not in line with the policy and in line with the general public within Derry? Do you know, the reality is that most people in this city and district are standing with Palestine, and it's just how it looks then for a council as well. So I think if we had tighter kind of governance and instruction around that, it might help. But I'm satisfied with the reflection that you've given me personally, and I hope that the chairperson from the IPSC will be the same when she meets with you on Friday. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. I do not see, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Ulster Unionist Party, in your position and your apolitical role as Mayor, can I thank you for your efforts to improve economic opportunities in our council area. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Members, I'm going to respond to a couple of comments that have been made. Somebody else? Oh, Councillor Bart.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the record, Mayor, I'd like to be associated with Councillor Harkins and Councillor Donnelly's remarks.
Thank you, Councillor Bart. So I'm going to respond to a couple of comments that have been made. And Councillor Jackson, you're very right. We should use every platform that we get to raise the issues of the Palestinian demise. And that's exactly what I did when I found out who Tim Kennedy was. As everybody knows here, I don't shy away from speaking about injustice. That is my mission everywhere in the world. And as soon as I found out who he was, and I appreciate Brian bringing that issue on, I didn't want to make this meeting very long or very personal. Wanted to focus on the mission that we went, but that's exactly what I did. I mentioned on my Facebook page about I can't wait to invite Tim Kennedy to the city. At that point, I didn't know genuinely his position. I have to be very honest. I spend a lot of time working and fighting for our community to try and change, as you do. Many of you may spend more time to research American elected representatives. And when that information is brought to us, it is up to us to use it to the best that we can to advocate for everyone. That's exactly what happened, and I responded that on Facebook. In terms of engagement with the White House, that was a political engagement. This was an economic engagement, and it is different because the former leader of our party has been mentioned for not traveling to the White House. He was right not to do that. We were right to travel for economic development because that is our duty in this council area, to ensure we promote our city and region in every single platform we can. And America is a critical partner when it comes to economic development. The American people are not all the American government. And it is the people, the businesses that we went to engage with. Some of the meetings were simultaneous. It did not happen as part of the program. They just happened when we got there. It is true, an event that I am invited. I don't know everybody's views, and I don't expect that you will also know everyone's views in an event that you attend and meet people. That's exactly what happened. In terms of an apology, Councillor Donnelly, I don't see anything to apologize for because I did not intentionally meet with Tim Kennedy. It was unintentional. It was an event we attended together, and the guy was actually very decent when I met and spoke to him. I was not going to judge him until I found out exactly who he was. So I don't see that it is a legitimate request to make an apology for something that was unintentional. Thank you, members. Alderman McMurray.
Just a brief word. Did you say that the DUP also supports your travelling out for economic development for the Northwest? So we appreciate that you did do that for our region. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a point of clarity, you did extend an invitation to him and have since, you found out who he is, you've withdrawn that invitation. Is that correct?
Mayor, your mic.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a formal invitation. I said, I can't wait to invite him. So it wasn't a formal invitation. Now that I know who he is, I know I wouldn't invite him myself. Any other member who wish to comment? Thank you, members. Moving on, the next chairperson's business is from Alderman Julie Middleton. Are you online?
I'm here, Mayor. Thank you very much. So thank you, Mayor, for letting. I wanted to take a few moments to put on record that I am proud and stand by our farmers, our farming families and our agribusinesses district and province-wide, but to also note that I am so committed to working with and for them. I oppose our support on this and other issues affecting our farming families in the worst possible way. We will continue to do so. Our district is made up of many rural areas supported heavily by farmers. The Fahan, which I am very, very proud to represent, has so many farming families who have served us all in many ways through the generations and no doubt for generations to come. They are hardworking, honest and humble people, but this does not mean that they do not feel angry, that they do not feel cheated, and they certainly do feel let down. The frustration and need for change cannot and must not be ignored. This issue is not a lone issue, but moreover, this is the final straw. It's the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. With our farming communities taking the brunt of many negative decisions with no thought for the work, for their dedication, for the endless days, or for their strong family ties to their land and their work and their produce. I would like to think that we as a council and that as council representatives will all unite behind our farming communities to send a strong message that enough is enough. And just to sum it up, I would like to commend the Ulster Farmers Union for their ongoing work, as well as their work in organising the rally on Monday evening, which was attended by many thousands. I proudly listened to local lady Lorraine Killen give a very passionate and a very honest speech. And I would suggest that anyone who has social media and access to social media would go and hear her words and join myself and my party in our support for our farmers. And please just remember, no farmers, no food. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I have Councillor Harkin.
Yeah. Just in response to Alderman Middleton, I think that we do support our farmers, and I've spoke to quite a few farmers who really struggle financially, who work extra jobs. I think that our farmers are the guardians of our land, of our environment. They are our food producers, and many of them are hyper-exploited by big corporations who set the prices and devalue the work that they do. And I think many of our farmers need a better deal, especially when it comes to a just transition to green energy. And they're frustrated right now. And I know that there's a lot of frustration about this, what the Starmer government has brought in on the inheritance tax. It is the case, though, that there are big farmers, and this would be a criticism of many of the farmers that I've talked to, that the Ulster Farmers Union appears to prioritise in terms of representing, that are doing very well and have done very well because of the type of inheritance laws that have been on the books for many, many years. It is the case also that very rich people, like Jeremy Clarkson, have bought farms in order to avoid paying taxes. And I think that that's unacceptable. I also think some of the rhetoric that the protests that I witnessed used, again, this talk about destroying farming to build immigrant towns is basically leaning into anti-migrant politics and scapegoating migrants for problems that are created by government. by big corporations who don't really care at all about farmers or their interests. So I think we should be talking to our farmers, and many of the decisions that the Starmer government has made has frustrated a lot of people. But there's clearly farmers who are not paying their fair share. Big farmers, very wealthy farmers, and then people who are abusing and utilising these loopholes. Very rich people like Jeremy Clarkson, who are not interested in farming at all. And we need to crack down on that because it's not acceptable. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Jose, apologies. I realize now that it was the same issue that you brought to me, so.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the privilege of attending the Icon Centre on Monday evening, along with close on 7,000, not only farmers, but their families, their wives, their children, and young people seeking to enter the farming industry. And I'm not too aware of many big, wealthy farmers in Derry City and Strabane District Council area. I don't think Jeremy Clarkson has his farm here. Mayor, the proposals coming down the line will have an absolutely devastating, catastrophic impact on our farming community, particularly those family farms that are being referred to. Yes, there's a lot of money in farms, but it's tied up. Farmers are asset rich and cash poor. We've heard that time and time again. The value of the land, the value of their properties, the value of the machinery that they need to do their job very quickly amounts to over £1 million. And the income that they receive from their investment is in the region of 0.5 to 0.6%. Now, if government decide that they are going to charge inheritance tax at that level of 1 million, and we've heard the rationales, if there's two involved, it could go up to this and it could go up to that and the other. The simple fact is, it is a threat on family farms. And, it's a threat on the family farms in this district council area. It's our electors that we need to be concerned about. I read a section from one of the comments that was made. We have gone from being classed as essential workers to now being forgotten about and thrown to the wind. I can see where other businesses pay their inheritance tax, but I go back to the fact that the reason the agricultural property relief was brought in 40 years ago was all part of a bigger picture to keep the price of food down, keep people farming. If the public wants a continuation of locally produced, high-quality food, the cost is going to have to go up, and the government is solely responsible for that. Local agriculture simply can't absorb any more costs like that. If the burden of inheritance tax comes into being, that burden will be on the families of farmers as the farm is passed on, hopefully, or what we would want, to their children. If they can't pay, which is a high possibility given the limited return that they get on their investment, they go out of farming. What impact does that have on the wider rural community? Our rural schools, the local Orange Lodge, the local Gaelic Club, how many of those are occupied and filled with members from the farming community? So once they go, your churches, all of that rural infrastructure is under threat as well. We have a duty to protect the family farm and keep people in the countryside working, rather than enacting a tax policy which will force those families to leave the land. I have made a proposal, or I've given a proposal to Teresa. I think it's been examined by Philip, and I trust that I'm allowed to put that proposal to council, if it can go on screen.
Alderman Jose, last month you criticized me for not being consistent. So I want to make sure I am very consistent. I will ask that every single proposal is brought back to a full council meeting. So I am not going to accept any proposals now.
I hear what you're saying, Mayor, and you're the boss and I've got to accept that. But I would stress that my proposal has come out of a large meeting which occurred on Monday from our farming community, impacting on local electors. These are people in our area. These are people we represent. And if we can't support them, should we have to wait another month? Why? But you have made your decision. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Jose. Councillor Boggs.
Mayor, I too wanted to make a proposal, and I do understand where you're coming from, and don't wish to challenge you in relation to what you've just said to Alderman Hussey. But the fact as well that this month's council is a month earlier, we have longer to wait before next month's, and it is an issue that is affecting each and every person, regardless if you represent a rural constituency or not. It is affecting each and every councillor in this chamber, and it is affecting each and every one of our constituents right across this city and district. So while I won't argue with you about it, I would perhaps ask you to give some consideration that there is an urgency in relation to any proposal that is going to come forward, and we haven't seen Alderman Hussey's, and I haven't sent mine yet either, because I was going to ask whether you would accept it or not. This issue runs right to the heart of our communities. Our family farms, as Alderman Hussey has alluded to, our rural schools, our GA clubs, lodges. If Alderman Hussey is going to go that far, I probably won't. These people support not only those communities, but everybody right across society, whether that comes from your dairy farmer, from your beef farmer, whether that comes in any shape or form to do with farming and looking after land that helps this world go round. These are the people that we are going to start now penalising. And on top of Councillor Harkin's point, yes, there are people who we are being made aware of now that do benefit, but they are the minority. This is people who run family farms to support their communities and to support our society. They're being put under much more financial pressure. And anybody who has this idea that farmers are millionaires or billionaires, you need to go and see where they are working, the conditions that they are working in, the times that they are working at, because it is first thing in the morning, right through to late at night, in the cold, in the winter, while their families are not out with them. And in many cases then, when children get to the age where they are safe enough to look after themselves, they then are out with them on family farms, making sure that we all have the supplies that we need to live a healthy and fulfilled life. But I think one thing that hasn't been mentioned here yet is, as well, it needs to be reminded, those who championed a Brexit that supported when, and we can be critical of the European Union at times, but the European Union and the funding that came through it was one of the biggest contributors towards our farmers in terms of financial support. And it hasn't been mentioned yet that as a result of Brexit, those people could be argued, those people who run our family farms and our agri-food sector were the most impacted by the loss of EU subsidies and EU funding. So while I don't want to get political and I want to keep it very focused on the issue, people need to remember why we are in this as well. And as another addition to that, and I will finish on this, Mayor, it is again another example where we are hamstrung to a British government, whether they be Tory or Labour, or all one, as it more seems to be at the minute. We need to remember that an answer to this is to get away from the purse strings of Westminster and to treat this sector, like many other sectors thrive on, as one all-island economy and a new and united Ireland, back into the EU, where we also then can receive the supports that we have lost out on. But I think it is imperative that we send some message, whether or not you're going to accept a proposal today. It is imperative that we send a strong message for our family farmers, that we stand with them, we support them, and just like those elected reps and the ministers from our executive who rode off to the British Chancellor this week, that we sent a strong signal that we are supportive of them and that we will do everything that we can to ensure that they receive the support that they so much need and deserve in order to support the rest of us. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs. Alderman Middleton, online.
Thanks, Mayor, for allowing me back in. Just in respect of everyone's time, I'm not going to get into a debate with Councillor Harkin today, but I will state as a very important point of clarity that the inheritance tax issue is a Westminster decision and was not and is not a Stormont decision. And that is why it is important that those elected use their voices, as was articulated by many farmers at the meeting on Monday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Corrigan, online.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for allowing me in. And as has been stated, you've made your ruling in regards to any proposal that would come forward. So in that line, there will be proposals then, or notice of motions brought forward at the December meeting, which is usually not the norm, but there needs must be on this occasion. But I agree in regards to the comments there, which have been stated by many of the speakers so far there. This is causing massive impact then, and the inheritance tax is maybe making more of the headlines there, but there is the difficulty, of course, saying that the money was not ring fenced in regards to the budgets and the uplift and the funding and in line with inflation. So this is one of the things there that maybe is more in line that our own Stormont can look at in regards to the Dairy Minister, if he would have stayed long enough about on Monday night to have taken any questions instead of skipping out the door as quick as he could. But that's just that's for another occasion. But the impact in regards to inheritance tax, the issues with it is, and people are trying to portray figures, and I see a lot on social media in regards there. It's that difficulty in the profitability of farms, and some are trying to soften the figures and massage the figures here in regards to you have 10 years to pay it back. Well, if a farm's only making £25,000 a year and you have maybe £14,000 a year inheritance tax to pay, what are you going to live on? You know, a lot of these farm businesses, it's going to have a complete knock-on effect, because the one thing that if a farmer ever received money or ever got money, he never was a miser with it. There was always the payment and always work in that rural community, from a digger man getting a turn to fixing drains, till an agricultural merchant then for drainage pipes, to a quarry for stones, till then maybe another man for coming in and ploughing and reseeding a bit of ground, and your grass seed got and a bit of fencing and all that. So it all is a knock-on effect. And again, even in that, then when you're classifying the farm business valuation in regards to agricultural seeds, it's affecting the engineering sector as well, because then they'll be less likely to try and invest then in erections of new seeds or replacing seeds, because there's a potential then that's included in the valuation of a farm business. That's pushing you over a limit. It's increasing your value. One of the basic things is the average price per acre. You know, 100 acres in Northern Ireland is not the same price as 100 acres in England. You know, we're average there, and depending on where you are, we're averaging there. Our figures are approximately 14,000 an acre. So 100 acres of ground is sitting at 1.4 million. You're over the limit straight away. And a lot of these farms are trying to save with a husband and a wife. A lot of the ground is in one person's name, because a lot of times when a father would leave the farm on to the next generations, it's not left to the son and the daughter-in-law. It's usually just left into the son's name. That's just how things are with it. And so there's a lot of the ground, it's not to that. So there people are trying to push that all these variants in here, but it's having the impact on it. It's a real impact then on the young farmers. And when you see the level of work that's taking place from the farming community, and it's a non-stop. And again, one of the big factors that's getting such a hit at this occasion is the dairy community. And again, there's a reference there that I believe it's 75% of dairy farms across Northern Ireland will fall into this fall into that bracket of in excess of £1 million. So it's going to have a massive impact. And as we all know, effectively with economies of scale, it is better for the businesses to try and grow and get larger. And it's that improvement that the people, when they do take on a farm, they want to improve it for the next generation. And that incentive's been knocked out. And it's the whole impact that will help.
Yes, please summarise.
I'll bring my remarks to a close now, but again, we will be putting forward a motion, should we will correspond with Alderman Middleton and Alderman Hussey and Councillor Boggs as well, to try and get maybe an agreed motion then and bring it forward to the next full council. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would just like to ask you to maybe reconsider your decision on this, to not accept the proposals on this issue. This is a very pressing issue. And as a representative of the Sperrin DA, which is one of the largest rural DAs across the north, it's affecting our people, our residents right now and their families. So I feel, Mayor, that instead of kicking the can down the road to next month, which in tradition, to be fair, the previous mayors, they have not accepted motions in December. Obviously, you might be breaking that tradition, but it seems to be. But I think we should deal with such, show the people of Derry City and Strabane District Council that we are there for them, we're supporting them, and not kicking this very pressing issue down the road. And that's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Councillor Jackson.
Mayor, it was on a very similar note. That was just, and I appreciate your ruling and the rationale behind it, but because none of us want to see pop-up motions, none of us want to see decisions being bounced on us, but this is an issue that has been highlighted quite extensively since the British government released their budget, and we've heard the voices from a rural community loud and clear. So it does seem a bit strange that we as a council aren't able to support the calls, and just to reiterate the point that Councillor Barr had made, is that we normally don't have motions in December, so that does give yourself a bit of a leeway because it is a very unusual circumstance. Any other, we don't want to see pop-up motions. We want motions tabled and being able to be considered, give proper consideration to it. So, but on this issue, and given this the time frame that we're in, and we don't want to be reintroducing council motions in the December committee or council meeting. So it's again just respectively just asking, would you reconsider the position to ask council or to accept a proposal on this issue at this time? Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, members, I want to make sure that I don't set a precedent and change my mind again. So I am going to offer a special council meeting on this particular issue, if members are interested, to ensure that we come and discuss in full, giving members the opportunity to look at the motion that has been put forward and vote on it. And it will be a single issue special council meeting as soon as possible. Thank you, members. Okay.
Mayor, can I just comment on that? I appreciate what you have just said, and I think it perhaps will demonstrate to our farming families that we do care. Thank you.
Okay, so for any members who have any notice of motions or proposals you wanted to make today, would you please submit them? And the officers will call a special council meeting as soon as possible, and everyone will get an opportunity to discuss that issue. Okay, I hope I haven't left anybody out in terms of that agenda item. So the next person on chairperson business is Councillor McDade, and you have 2 items.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. The first one is just very briefly just to mention that the group in Derry Northwest BAPS have commissioned a mural from people, and it's going to be unveiled on the 29th of November on the side of the Pram Centre. So it's just to alert people, because we do have the lowest rates of breastfeeding, and this is just to kind of highlight that and highlight what support there is there. So, and ask all members if they would just share their posts and share the unveiling and attend if they can. Thank you. And the second one is just today's World Children's Day. So it's just to mention that World Children's Day, obviously we're working to become a UNICEF child-friendly city, and I know that a lot of members across here work hard and are doing their best to achieve that flagship. But obviously we've had a long discussion around Palestine this afternoon already, but we can't go on without mentioning the thousands and thousands of children that are dying in Gaza and in broader Palestine at the minute as well this year, and before that also. The The Derry IPSC have arranged a vigil tonight at 6 o'clock, and it's fully child-led. There will be no adult voices. There'll be no politicians or anyone speaking at this. This is all child-led, right from the age of 4 or 5 up until teenagers. I know the weather's cold and everybody's not feeling it, but I would encourage everybody to come along to it. And I also was thinking, and I'm looking at the time, it's 3 o'clock, and we're not even out of Chair's business, but could we maybe forego the break and finish 10 minutes, 15 minutes early maybe, so that people can get out and gather at Bishopsgate for it? But I'll put that to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. Let's hope we finish the meeting before then. Okay, next Chairperson's business is Councillor Jackson.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Mayor, I'll be very brief. I just want to make some amendments to committee membership, and in governance and strategic planning, can I replace Councillor Boggs with Councillor Brian Hart? And in environment and regeneration, can I replace Councillor Brian Hart with Councillor Paul Boggs? Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, members, that concludes Chairperson's business. So moving on to agenda item 6, confirmation of the open minutes of the meeting of the Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Wednesday, 23rd October 2024, pages 5 to 30 for accuracy. Propose, Councillor Tierney.
Happy to second that. Councillor Nelis.
Councillor Heney. Members, I think we want to finish quickly, so cooperation on this part of the business, and then we can go home. Matters arising? Councillor Gallagher.
Mayor, I'll be brief. It's just around C46424 and Strabane Town regarding footfall. Since our last meeting, Mayor, I would like to congratulate the officers, particularly Karen, up there in the environmental section around a successful bid of Riverine. We've been around the houses with Riverine for the past 14 years. Some of us more than others have worked on it, but I'd just like to say that I think this will go a long way of being another jewel in the crown, as they say, of increasing footfall to Strabane Town. It will bring families, it will bring external groups from far and near to Strabane Town. So well done, Karen, well done. I think there may have been quite a number of rows if this hadn't been successful, but well done.
Thank you. And Councillor McHugh?
I've got a very different issue, C453 /
Oh, Councillor McHugh, I'll come to you then. Councillor Hart, you want to come on the
It's
same
on
issue?
the same issue of the Riverine. So I also want to welcome the fact that I sat as chair on the community forum of the Riverine for a number of years. So I understand all the great work that the voluntary sector and community groups within the Strabane Lifford area did on it. So it's a very welcome development that we got the funding, and it's very exciting for the people of Strabane and the Northwest to see our first park in that area. So thanks for all the council officers' work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. Councillor Jackson?
Thanks, Mayor. And it is fantastic news to see the Riverine project being funded for the second time. But it's and I know it's been a long process. I can remember getting a briefing around Riverine from Pat Doherty a long time ago, and I know our elected representatives have been working hard, both in this council and in Donegal Council, who were the lead partners on this, to get this project to the stage it's at, and hopefully through the delivery phase. And I don't want to lower the tone of this meeting, but it is extremely disappointing that our own project proposal that was put forward to a Peace Plus funding wasn't successful, and I know it's particularly and around the Carrinear, Tully Alley and Drummahoe areas. From the communities, there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of anticipation of long-awaited projects being delivered, particularly in terms of Carrinear and Play. There was a lot of excitement, there was expectation that we're finally going to see delivery, and I know that the outcome of this process has been extremely disappointing. So I trust that officers will work with the community organisations on those projects. They look for alternative forms and routes to delivery, because they were identified as priorities in the run up to Peace Plus, and rest assured from a council perspective, they remain priorities. So we just need to ensure that reassurance is given to the community projects, the community organisations, that we're going to continue to work on them until, like the Riverine, we can finally see those ambitions being delivered. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And Alderman Jose, is that on the same issue?
On the same issue, just to briefly come in, it seems like ancient history when the embryo of Riverine was developing. I remember meetings in the council offices in Lifford, Donegal County Council offices, and as has been rightly said, there have been setbacks, but it is testament to the tenacity of both officers and community that the project is now where it's at. And like others, I just thank everyone involved and thank the officers for what has been done. But would have been very easy at a stage to have just said, right, that's gone. But our officers didn't, and the community didn't. And I looked down to Councillor Gallagher there and know the efforts that were made in Strabane town, and indeed to Councillor Hart, and the efforts that were made within the community as well. You weren't a councillor at that time, but fruition is great to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Jose. Okay, Councillor McHugh.
From a bit of C453/24 and Derg play provision. Myself and other Derg councillors had we had the deputy mayor in Castleberg last week opening the new play provision at the Castle Park in the town, which has been warmly welcomed by particularly the local children of the area. And the deputy mayor was also in the town centre for the official opening of the phase 1 of the regeneration of the Diamond area. Recently, we've also had the completion of the shop front painting scheme. So there's kind of a feel-good factor in Castleberg at the minute, and I see just within the last few minutes we have a recommendation for approval for the new redevelopment at Mitchell Park in Castleberg. So I think things are looking up in terms of projects being delivered and potential projects coming online in Castleberg. But I just want to raise an issue, Mayor, that I think that needs to be raised here on this forum, and it's an issue that can only be described as a proliferation of Union flags that have been erected in Castleberg since a Loyalist band parade in September. And I think not only is it disrespectful to the nationalist community in Castleberg, it's disrespectful to the businesses in Castleberg who have these flags placed outside their businesses without their consent. But it's also disrespectful to those people within the unionist community themselves who live in Castleberg, who don't want to see their flag flying 24/7 from lampposts in Castleberg. Mayor, so I think these flags need to come down, and I'm not raising this today in an effort to curtail anybody's rights or their traditions. If people want to have a parade, that's well and good, or any event for that matter. But if flags go up, then I think it's only reasonable to ask that they then be taken down again in an acceptable time frame. We have our Christmas light switch-ons coming up next week, so we want our town centre to be a welcoming environment and a shared space open to everybody. So, Mayor, on the back of that, and I'm conscious that it's not a tradition to move motions or proposals at December's meeting, but I do have a very quick proposal here. If you would permit me, I would put it to the floor now.
I will be consistent, so I will not accept any proposals.
Okay, well, Mayor, I accept that, but I would use this opportunity to call on those people from the Castleberry Glug and Isles Flute Band who have availed of good relations funding from this council to think about the impact those flags are having on good relations in Castleberry and to have some common sense and take the flags down now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McHugh. Any other, Councillor Cusack?
Thank you. It's C45024. I apologise, I sort of lost my voice. Some people will be glad about that. It's no. It's in relation to violence against women and girls. I know we've had lots of discussions about this in the past few weeks, but this is with regards to council property within the city and the intimidation that a lot of young women have been feeling with regards to crowds that have been gathering there at Victoria Car Park. Now, girls have come to me who work in the city at night in the beauty industry, etc., and they're passing that area and they're feeling very afraid, very intimidated when they've approached the PSNI regarding this. The PSNI have told them this is not their responsibility. It's the responsibility of council, given that it's council land that they're gathering in, whether it's misinformation or not. Just want this to be highlighted. I'd like to know what the situation is with regards to council bylaws about drinking in public areas on council land, because I know there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of drug taking. We don't want children, we don't want young women, we don't want families seeing that and feeling threatened by that, regardless of the behaviour of these individuals and their addictions. So I'd like to just put that on the record and see what comes back with regards to that and what council's responsibilities are and where the PSNI's responsibilities lie with regards to protecting our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And obviously it is a very concerning issue. It's also quite a complex issue. We have bylaws for parks, we have on-street drinking laws. There are divisions of responsibility between PSNI. There is the opportunity of council community safety wardens to have influence as well. I think it would merit us bringing back a rounded report on the issue to inform members of the various complexities and then take a position on the matter if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other item or any matters arising on that. So moving on to agenda item 8, confirmation of the open minutes of the reconvened meeting of the Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Thursday, 24th October 2024, pages 31 to 42. For accuracy, thank you, Councillor Tierney. Thank you, Councillor McDade. Any matters arising? Okay, well done, members. Item 10, confirmation of the open minutes of the special meeting of the Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Tuesday, 22nd of October, 2024, pages 43 to 48. For accuracy. Come on, members. Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Any matters arising? No. Thank you, members. Agenda item 11, confirmation of the open minutes of the special meeting of the Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Tuesday, 29th October 2024, pages 49 to 56. For accuracy. Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Thank you, Councillor Haney. Any matters arising? Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in regard to SC 10224. It's what the special council meeting was about, which was the winter fuel payment. And our council's corporate position is calling for the reinstatement of that. I think we can agree. We had excellent presentations from Freeze the Cuts, from the trade union, Unite the Union, and from AGNI about the impact that the winter fuel cut will have on many of our the older people right across our district and right across the north. And we also had last week in this building the trade union body pass a very strong motion calling for the reinstatement of the winter fuel payment. And I'm sure everybody will have heard now that the DFC minister has announced that there will be a mitigation for the payment of £100 being sent out to all those who would have received it but haven't been, or who are not eligible for the pension credit or another benefit, or who haven't been able to access that. So the first thing I would say is the fact that there's a mitigation at all is because of the People Power campaign led by older people across our society. A campaign of protests, sending postcards, going to meetings, and also supported by, in particular, the Unite the Union and their Defend the Winter Fuel Payment campaign. I think that that's why the Minister has found £17 million. I think without that campaign, there would be no mitigation at all. I think many people, especially older people, are glad to hear there will be some support rather than absolutely none. But there are, the mitigation itself is very inadequate. When we were told that a full mitigation would cost in the region of £43 million, 17 million is way, way, way below that. I think that Stormont could have done a lot better to stand with our, with older members of our society who are at risk. Some of dying and many others of being extremely cold in their homes. But there's other problems with this as well. In terms of getting out the money, I think it's good that there isn't an application process. That is very, very welcome, because that is actually, as we heard from HNI, a barrier to older people being able to access particular benefits, and it'll remove a lot of that bureaucracy. But the fact that it's only being announced now, and the Mayor and the DFC Minister is saying that the money will be out by spring 2025, just isn't good enough. I mean, he needs to put all his efforts into getting that money out immediately for it to do any good, because it's right now, with temperatures plummeting, that people need the fuel, winter fuel help. It's just not good enough that they would receive it next April or next May, when the worst of the winter has passed and the worst of the cold temperatures has passed. So I think that I'm glad that there's some kind of mitigation. I think it is grossly inadequate in terms of the overall amount. I also think that the way in which it's being distributed is a very serious problem, most serious for those who need access to it immediately as possible. So I think, look, I think we should write to the Minister, and if we can't do it at this meeting, I think we should do it at the next. Call on the Minister to make sure he uses every lever at his disposal to get that money sent out immediately and not next year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Mayor. And just on the similar issue, or the same issue as Councillor Harkin, I think it's welcome that there is a mitigation there. I think it's unfortunate that it has taken this long for the Minister to come up with it. I actually heard the Minister on radio this morning, and he was encouraging people, which baffled me, to be honest. He was encouraging people to continue campaigning against this cut. I genuinely could not believe it. I had to check to make sure that I heard it right. The Minister who made the cut was encouraging people to campaign against the cut. That's nuts. It was on the radio this morning. I think the fact that the money isn't going to be in people's accounts until at least March of next year, as Councillor Harkin has said, in my view, is too little too late. People are going to be sitting, the reality is people are going to be sitting over, and we've seen over this last couple of days, it's got a lot, the temperatures have dropped quite a bit. People are going to be sitting over December, January and February in cold homes, and then they're going to get £100, hopefully in March, it's not good enough. And I know you're not taking proposals today, but I think we do need to take some form of action to encourage the minister to not only get this money out to people quicker, but to do whatever he can to increase the money that is going out, because £100 in today's market is not a lot. It's also not going to be much good to people who are sitting in cold homes over the winter when they're getting it in March. Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Councillor Jackson.
Very good, Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Harker for raising it. And it is a massive issue, and it's and as Councillor Tierney has outlined, it's coming to the fore over recent days as temperatures have plummeted, and people have to use their heat. We, from our own council's perspective, like, we know how difficult it is to put together a scheme, and we've used our own resources to try and get support to people as quickly as we could. And the challenges that we found within that were and the delays that we experienced ourselves were unforeseen. So I would share the comments that I would share the sentiment that's been expressed so far, is that it could be more, it should be more, and it should be delivered a lot sooner. And maybe like when you consider that this was coming on the back of and it's in response to a cut from the British government. They deny pensioners want their fuel payment, the £200 payment. That is where the fault of this and the problem originated from. The British government taking a decision. They cut money, cut vital support to pensioners during winter. I want to see our executive do everything that they can to mitigate against the decisions that the British government have taken. But I want to see that happen as soon as possible. So if there's any way that we can communicate to the DFC minister or anybody within the executive to see if there's additional support to provide to pensioners, and if we can get it sooner, then it's something that we would certainly support. But the fact remains is that the problem originated from a decision from the British government, and that any steps to mitigate that, or any steps they follow, they for our executive to step on and react to a British government's decision, well, it's a result of a direct decision taken at Westminster, and that's we want to see it. We want to see it protected fully. We want to see it protected immediately, and hopefully we can. If there's any possibility of getting that done, we would be supportive of it. But the fact remains is that a Parliament sitting in London took this decision and decided to take money away from pensioners here, and it was alluded to earlier in this meeting. The sample way for us to protect pensioners from decisions taken in London is by ending the connection with Britain once and for all, and leaving accountability to local decision makers here. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. I just wanted to clarify, and I think Councillor Jackson has just done that. In reference to Councillor Tierney's comments, the Minister, assuming was on today, was Gordon Lyons, and it wasn't him that made the cut, it was Westminster Government that made the cut, and I do believe that Minister Lyons was right in calling for that people should be still lobbying and coming forward in order to reinstate this benefit to people over the winter months. I'm sure Minister Lyons, if he is given more budget, he will accommodate to basically give people the benefit that they have lost over the winter months, and I'm sure he will be getting that out as soon as possible. I don't know why it is delayed the March. I'm assuming it's clerical or administration or some other issue, because I'm sure if he could get it out, he would get it out. But I just wanted to clarify that point, and we all should be championing together in order to reverse the decision from Westminster. It has a real major impact on our old people. Do you know, it's a difference between these ones being able to heat themselves and keep themselves. And a lot of circumstances, older people, do you know, this could be life-threatening, is what I'm trying to say. So like anything that Gordon Lyons can be doing, he will do. And we need everybody to be behind that in order to get this reinstated. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Alderman Carrigan online.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief because Alderman McMorris has covered it. But just touching on the points that she has stated and points that Councillor Jackson, not all of Councillor Jackson's points, but in regards to, you know, we see ourselves, the previous poverty schemes that we tried to run as a council and the difficulty that we had with them and how complex they were. So these things do take time, and I do feel that the executive has come together, money has been released, or money has been found to try and mitigate. And the element of it is, at least we are not requesting pensioners to apply for this. This will come out automatically. It will take time. It's not ideal, but at least we're not making the individuals go and put in an application. You know, we've tried to ease. It has been tried to ease. So I do see a success in it. Not what we wanted. It was a decision made by Westminster. But thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Hussain.
Mayor, I appreciate the concern at the delay. I mean, it's talked about March before this might possibly be released. I listened very carefully to the Stormont Minister responsible on the radio, and I thought he gave an extremely good example or good explanation of the situation that he's in. Not for me to defend that particular minister, but it was a very good explanation that the system that is there, if you were to try and devise another system, the cost of devising that system, for starters, would eat into the amount of money that has been made available to that minister. The point has been well made. This was a decision taken by a Labour government at Westminster. And could I remind some in this chamber that there are party members who actually sit on the government benches at Westminster? So maybe they should be using their influence more fully if they have any influence there at all.
Thank you, Alderman Hussain. Members, I sense that everybody wants to do something. And if it is unanimous, to avoid a lot of debate, I am prepared to accept one proposal to send a letter to Westminster as a joint from this council, if members are happy with that, because you're right, that is where the cat is, and do everything that we can to send a strong message to Westminster to release funding. Councillor Harkin.
Look, I support that, and the campaign to reinstate this will continue. I mean, Unite the Union is taking the British government to court, and I think that that's something we should all support, that we should pressure the British government to immediately reinstate this, and that will have a massive impact. It'll have a massive help. But I think it's more urgent, given that there's a mitigation, that we write, and I'm not against writing to Westminster. I think we've already done it as a council, but we should do it again, and we should be relentless about that. And I welcome the fact that all parties at Stormont signed the Unite pledge to demand that the British government reinstate it. But the pressing issue I see it is that we've actually, even though it is not enough, that the campaign has won 17 million, and that we need to get that money out. And so when the minister says it's going to be distributed possibly next year after the winter, that seems to me to be something we want to send. So I think what we should want to say is we'll have different opinions about the amount in terms of if more could have been given as a mitigation, but that mitigation money needs to be sent out immediately. And so the minister and his help helped by executive colleagues need to figure out a way to get that money distributed immediately, not next spring, because that won't help people. So I'm not arguing against the Westminster letter. I think we've already done it and we're doing it again, but I think we have to try and put the pressure on the minister now to get the money out as quickly as possible, because that will actually give some help to people.
Okay, members, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, and I'm concerned in relation to the direction of travel we're going. I support the decision to allow us to debate this and take any action and send a letter. I'm conscious that I'm an urban-based councillor, as are yourself. We have denied the opportunity for a huge section of our council they support farmers, and they have a discussion and take a proposal that would support the farming community. A ruling by yourself in the interest of consistency has been followed through and denied a debate. But on this issue, it seems to be more important than farmers and rural. And I have a real concern around the message that we're sending.
Councillor Jackson, we have a special council meeting to focus on the farmers, which is very soon, and we'll give every single councillor enough time, unless you want another special council meeting on this issue. So we have to agree.
It's raising my concerns around the lack of consistency, Mayor.
No, that I disagree, because I ask if it is unanimous for the letter to go to Westminster, and I have allowed a special council meeting to specifically discuss issues of farmers, which gives every single member in this chamber an opportunity to raise it and to show the solidarity and support.
It's just not as urgent.
Yes, it is urgent. Okay, members, moving on. Agenda item 12, confirmation of
Mayor,
the...
just before you move on, sorry, I support your idea of a letter, but Councillor Harkin had a suggestion around a letter to Stormont as well, try and get the money out quicker and all of that. Has that been agreed or not agreed, or are they going together? Are they going together? Or, it's just I think it's a good suggestion. That's why I'm asking.
It's broad approval, 2 letters can go out. There's been no problem with 2 letters being sent. Okay, members, moving on. Confirmation of the open minutes of the special meeting of Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Friday, 8th November 2024 for accuracy.
My attendance is noted. I was online. I was late though, so I'm just for accuracy.
Thank you, Councillor Dini. That will be corrected.
Mayor, sorry, but what item was it? You didn't say which item and what
Item
pages?
12.
Item 12.
Yeah.
And the page.
The pages are not on my list here, so you might have an updated version, okay? Okay, so item 12, confirmation of the open minutes of the special meeting of Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Friday, 8th November. Proposed, Councillor McDade. Councillor Logue, thank you. Matters arising, we got noted 1. Any other matters arising? Councillor McDade?
I just wanted to speak on it, just to say thank you to, I know a lot of work's been put into it. It's only 2 weeks ago, and I know Karen and the team have been working really hard with the people who came in and presented with us. I'm conscious that it was a reactive meeting, and sometimes things can seem as if there's reactive and we're not doing anything about it. So it's good to have that kind of, there's actually tangible actions that will come out of it. And I know that Cassie from Foy Women's Information Network is powering on through with the Reclaim the Night rally on the 30th of November. So there's no other full council before that, so I just wanted to make people aware of it and keep your eye to the ground. It's going to be leaving from Ebrington at 5:15 next Saturday, so everybody can come out and support it. And there was a meeting last Thursday night for a woman from arranged by Alliance for Choice, so there's lots going on, so just people keep an eye on it, because I know that we want to keep it at the front of our minds. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other matters arising? Okay. Agenda item 13, adoption of the open minutes of the following committees. Monthly Governance and Strategic Planning Committee held on Tuesday, Oh, okay, noted. On Tuesday, 5th November 2024, pages 57 to 78, Alderman Hussein has a conflict of interest. That's why he's going out. For accuracy. Thank you, Councillor Hine.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any matters arising?
Thank you, Chair. GSP 198/24, page 65, where it says Councillor Tierney thought it was unfair for Councillor Donnelly to say the council had not addressed the encroachment issue at the Ballinagard development. He stated that the issue was addressed at a full council meeting and was resolved due to efforts of officers. Chair, that is completely inaccurate. And I would have, in normal circumstances, maybe had a proposal here, but I'm not sure. You're not taking proposals, so I don't expect a special council meeting. It might have to come in at as a motion, or maybe officers can do it. But Chair, there's a number of serious issues regarding this statement. It is my firm opinion that nothing has been sorted in any shape, form or fashion. And in fact, it has deteriorated. I've been at the site in the last 48 hours. And from what I've seen, Chair, I think people need to understand that there is nothing that we had agreed on the previous meeting has taken place. And that there's an issue with the road. And if the road service don't adopt the road, then the housing scheme won't be finished. The housing scheme won't be finished because the encroachment is getting worse. And if we don't, roads aren't adopted, then the community scheme can't open. So we're going to be sitting come September, if not before, because the builder down there is flying. He's months ahead of schedule. But there's going to be a huge issue down the line. And this is contrary to what senior officers of this council are telling us. And there's one way to sort it out, by doing a site visit. So what I was going to propose, but I don't know where we stand, is that council organise a site visit with the housing association, the developer, the builder, and councillors. We do a site visit there, and people will see with their own eyes what's coming around the corner. So maybe you could give a bit of clarification on, well, are you saying that it needs a special meeting? Are you saying that it needs a motion? Or can councillors or can council officials organise the site visit without a pop-up proposal?
Sorry, the mayor's just asked me to say something on it. I mean, would it be helpful if we brought back a paper and then a proposal comes from the paper, or just outlining the issue? I'm just, sorry, Councillor, I'm just not clear what the issue is.
Look, there was a proposal in here before, and I think 3 councillors voted against it. A significant section, mainly unionist councillors, abstained, and other councillors voted for it. I think that there are serious issues going on here, and I think a simple site visit, talking to the stakeholders, would sort this out. I don't think it needs another report. I think there's problems with the report, in my opinion, coming from council officers. It's not the reality on the ground, and the encroachment has been getting worse. It's not being dealt with. It's actually getting worse. And a simple site visit, so councillors, those who wish to look at it, can see with their own eyes, can talk to the stakeholders involved, and can then put this against what they've been told, the information that they've been supplied in here, and maybe then they might have a different opinion.
Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Mayor, for bringing me in. Councillor Donnelly started off by reading out what I had said and said that that's totally inaccurate. It's not. That's exactly what I said. It's not inaccurate at all. It's exactly what I said. I would like to know a couple of things, Mayor. In terms of the encroachment, it is that I said it was unfair and that council had addressed the encroachment at Ballinagard development. I wonder, could officers tell us what they've done to address the encroachment at Balnagar development? Because that will clear up any concerns that Councillor Donnelly has with that particular paragraph. At that stage, that was factually correct. However, over recent weeks, the encroachment is getting worse. I do support the idea of a site meeting, and I don't know how we're going to get. I think it needs to happen sooner rather than later. I don't think a report coming to another committee is going to help that. I think we need to do something. And I know you're not taking proposals, but surely from a council meeting like this, that where it is clear to the top table that councillors are given direction, surely that can be acted before we have to bring a proposal or have a special meeting. There has to be some way of being able to do this. That I spoke, Councillor Donnelly saying that he wants to bring the developer, the housing association, councillors, and whoever else, all stakeholders, to that site meeting, so that councillors can hear for themselves what's going on the ground. I've been speaking to people in Balnagar today. I know what's going on the ground, but I'm happy to have that meeting. Can see where there are problems, but those problems, in my opinion, are not unresolvable. But maybe it is time that everybody who has an interest in this, who wants to see it resolved for the right reasons, either gets in their room and thrashes this out and gets to a point where everything at Balnagar can move on. Because the reality is, as Councillor Donnelly said, once the community building or the community space is developed, we have no idea what is going to happen there or how people are going to access it, because there's potential access issues at that point. The developer who is there is, as I understand it, at least 6 weeks ahead of schedule. So this is an issue that we need to deal with now, or we're going to have a difficulty further on down the road. So I would support the idea of a site meeting, but I would also go further and say that we need to have some type of a discussion with everyone concerned to try and get these issues resolved and moved on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. I don't think we actually need a proposal for that, because councillors, the officers can organize a site meeting anytime and invite all councillors to go, those who are interested to go for that. So I would imagine there will be no issue with that. It doesn't need a proposal. Councillor Donnelly, you needed to come back in.
No, look, that's, if we can have that as a matter of urgency, and I would encourage councillors and other men to attend that. Just back to one point, and I don't know if Councillor Tierney were on the same page here, but the point that I was making is that something can't be resolved and then get worse when no action had been taken. That was the point that I was making. It can't be resolved and then has got worse when nothing has changed. That's the only, it might be seem to be nitpicking, but that's where it's come from. But thank you, and I look forward to the visit. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Okay, moving on. Adoption of the open minutes of planning committee held on
There's people online looking to come on the last item there.
Online. Okay, Alderman Cook, is that on the same item?
Yeah, it's on GSP 199/24.
All right, okay.
I would just like to express my disappointment at how my proposal regarding the lighting at Drumahoe District Park was dealt with and left. I understand why the Chair of Governance and Strategic Planning, Councillor Jackson, deferred the proposal until the special full council meeting, as the proposal would have fitted perfectly with the agenda. But
Alderman Cook, is that, what item again is that, just for clarity?
199/24.
199/24, okay.
So as I was saying, sorry, I understand Councillor Jackson's reasons, for deferring the proposal, as it would have fitted perfectly with the agenda. But then I feel like I had no opportunity to bring it forward again, as there was no chairperson's business on the agenda on the meeting on the 8th of November, and I had to wait until the end of the meeting. As I had another engagement, I had to leave early. Alderman McMorris brought the motion forward again, and I do understand the concerns voiced by other councillors that day regarding no legal representation. And I also understand that my proposal was in the asks of Councillor Tierney's proposal. But it brings me back to my point that I had tabled mine at GSP, so therefore I feel like I should have had the opportunity first. And I also understand the council has made commitment to install the lights at Drumahoe Park. So I just ask, like, when would this be done, or is there any plans? The park was built in 2018 with no lighting. So when was the end user thought about this and the process? I want to see lights in every park, street, alleyway across the DEA in our city and district, but this specific park is in the DEA that I represent and was one of the locations for the recent attacks on women, which is why I brought it forward. Melbourne Sports Complex got a motion passed to council because floodlights are particularly pertinent to the Science Swift ladies team, and rightly so. But why is Drumahoe Park any different? So my ask to council is, can I get an update on the report that is to be brought back, when this will be, and to which committee? Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alderman Cook. Any other matters arising?
Mayor.
Councillor McDade?
Sorry, it's just that, thank you, Mayor, it's just on what Alderman Cook had been saying there. I couldn't really hear her properly, but I think it's to do with her proposal she brought to GSP, and we then pushed it to the Friday because we were having a special council meeting. And I totally agree that the kind of how we need to move fast in Drumahoe Park, given what's happened. But I still stand that there's other council-owned parks, like, and I'll go on about it again, down the Bay Road, that has no lighting, you know, and it had this event, this tragic and this desperate thing happened in Drumahoe, but it could have easily happened in other parks as well. So I think it's really important that we do get the paper and we do allocate it and we do look at it and we do look at it with urgency. But I think it needs to be across the board, all the council areas, because it's, like I say, it was really, really tragic and really, I mean, I don't know what, opportunistic that it happened in Drumahoe Park, but it could have happened in other parks as well. And I think there is a lot of work being done on it. And I know that the council officers have been working on it, so I think it's important to say that and note it. Thank you.
Councillor Haney?
Different issue, but it's just to point out that there's a decision that was deferred from governance to be made today. That's why Derek keeps leaving the room.
Okay, before we get to that, I think, let me just clarify from Alderman Guy, are you looking to come on the same item? Derek, to stop making him leave the room?
Yes, that's what it is. Yep, it's that very item.
Is that the same item?
Yeah.
All right, okay, go ahead.
So the DSP 207/24. Obviously, I'd like to congratulate my colleague, first of all, Alderman Hussey, for being appointed Vice Chair of National Association of Councillors. However, there is an issue with attendance of the NAC meetings, and will council cover cost and so on. Now, obviously, this benefits council, and by the looks of it, Alderman Hussey will only be attending selective meetings. We obviously pay money to NAC and the NULGA being considerably more financially, and they offer free training and so on. The NAC offer a very different type of product and help to councillors right across the board. Now, obviously, the first meeting as Vice Chair is this week, and Alderman Hussey has paid his travel himself and his expenses to make sure that he attends that meeting. Now, I'd like to know whether officers have any more information on costs, or could we defer this to Alderman Hussey returns next week with more information on what meetings and what the cost of attending these meetings will be. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. And Alderman Carrigan, you're looking to come in on that same issue?
Yes, Mayor. From what I recall, I was in attendance at the governance strategic planning meeting, but obviously I don't sit in that committee and don't have a vote in regards to it. But there was some discussion in regards that this would be brought back.
Alderman Carrigan,
Yes.
would you try and speak closer to the mic? It's really hard to hear you guys online.
Right. Mayor, I attended the governance strategic meeting, but I am not a member of that meeting or committee, and therefore did not have a vote. But it was, from my understanding at that meeting, it would be brought back to full council with the potential of granting the costs for this initial trip in regards to Alderman Hussey, as he would be appointed now as the vice chair for the National Association of Councillors. And even there was a meeting of that body this morning. Now, I was able to attend it online, but we do have 8 representatives from this council on that body, and there was myself and Alderman Hussey present. And to be fair, I have been on the NAC from my first came on council, and it has been a very poorly attended organisation in regards to in regards to our council's representatives. But to be fair, that is a situation across all of the councils. The NAC does act effectively as a union on behalf of locally elected representatives, and I do feel it is something that should be more supported. But one of the factors that was raised at the governance meeting was that other members in this chamber had been away on trips via their roles in NILGA, and that had been fully funded via NILGA. However, the information wasn't forthcoming from council, but from what I had received it from another source, I believe that this council pays is in the region of £3,500 to NAC as an annual subscription, and is it in the region of £59,000 to NILGA, or in there? No, I'm not a million miles away with either of those two figures. So there's substantially more funding paid to NILGA than there is to NAC. So it's just to try and get the basis. Are we going to make this decision today in regards to the travel expenses on this occasion, in regards to Alderman Hussey, who has already paid this out of his own pocket, and in regards to seeking reimbursement, and obviously then we can assess that then when he brings the report back. And I do feel there needs to be more engagement with this council and the NAC to see the benefits of that organisation, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Are you looking to come in on that same issue? Okay, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I would appreciate a wee bit more information. There was a suggestion that there would be more information provided the members around the benefits. But I do have, and it was expressed at the meeting, there was serious concerns because Alderman Hussey is essentially representing NAC. He's not representing our council. So it's a bit and it would be unfair for our council to be picking up the cost. But I would also like to know how necessary it is to attend in person. It's ironic in a way that the deputy mayor of this council, Alderman Hussey's party colleague, raised this issue, spoke on this issue remotely. He doesn't feel it doesn't feel it necessary to be here to contribute to the meeting, despite being vice chair of this council meeting. So I just wouldn't mind knowing more around the necessity for the vice chair to be there in person. So if that could be factored in to any information that were provided, but I was under the understanding that members were content they allow the cost to be covered in this occasion. They allow us more time. They find out more about it. They find out more around what value we get as a council. Because as of now, as others have alluded to, the NAC certainly doesn't factor into the thinking of the vast majority of councillors within this council. It seems to be a body that that hasn't attached a huge degree of relevance. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Gallagher?
Mayor, I think some of the remarks by the last speaker are totally unfair with regards to whether you're in this chamber in person or whether you're online. As far as I know, I think there was some legislation passed that made a law that we could attend either in person or online. And if you're online, doesn't mean your input is any less than sitting in the chamber. So I think that's very unfair to attack a member that says he's a vice chair and he's not here. I think it's undermining the whole process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Jackson, I'll let you explain.
Mayor, it was the exact opposite. I was making the point that we could forgo those costs because the option of attending remotely would mean that Alderman Hussey's travel expenses, his hotel accommodation, and his evening meals and such wouldn't need to be covered by his council if Alderman Hussey took up the option of attending the NAC meetings remotely as his party colleague.
Mayor, it wasn't about Councillor Hussey, whether he attends or not. It was the previous speaker or vice mayor that was getting undermined by the previous statement.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Thank you, Councillor Jackson.
Mayor,
Members, there is a proposal that was made in a previous GSP, and I think that's what we are discussing here. Councillor Jackson, you have proposed for a vote or you're content?
We were advised that there was a potential for further information around the benefits of these particular meetings could be provided at this meeting. I appreciate it if officers haven't got that information to hand. Then we have no issue supporting the costs to be covered for this meeting and this meeting alone. They allow us for more information, and I would like to be included within that. How necessary it is for people to attend in person, because as our deputy mayor has outlined, you can adequately fulfil your duties. You can make proposals and you can represent, and vice chair can make a full contribution to a meeting without being here in person. So I just wouldn't mind that being factored in as well, if how necessary it is to be there in person. Because if there's an online option, it seems strange that we're putting the costs onto the repair to be there in person if it isn't necessary. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Tierney, you're looking to come in?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. My feelings around this are made clear within the minutes, but I just want to ask one question, and that is that the decision of the committee was deferred to the next full council meeting when more details on the benefits would be available. They're not. Can I ask why not? Because that is what this is what, we're being asked now to take a decision that we didn't take 2 weeks ago because we didn't have enough information. We still don't have the information. Why would that position change? I want to know why we haven't been provided with that information. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, can you like?
Just to update on what I think Ellen is saying, we had a bit of a chat before the meeting. We have requested from the member in question, stroke NAC, the details of the benefits. This is a member organisation. It's not an organisation that officers are involved in. So we've requested of NAC the request of members, which is what are the benefits of membership, and specifically the benefits in terms of chairing the organisation, and whether virtual attendance is possible. So in other words, we're still in process of ascertaining what those benefits are.
So I think the answer to the question is the information has not arrived yet. We're still waiting for those the question to be answered.
Mayor, I apologize, and I want to make the point, it's very, very difficult to hear on here today. Either people online or I struggled to hear what John said there now and he had his mic turned on. Councillor McHugh and Councillor Heaney spoke earlier on. I didn't hear what Councillor Heaney said at all, and I struggled to hear what Councillor McHugh heard. I don't have hearing difficulties. There's something wrong with the audio in this chamber today, and I think if we are having a break, we need to have it looked at because it's proving very difficult. I didn't hear the start of what John said. I think he said we asked the member.
Come closer.
So just remember, Mayor, through you members, Paul is organising for further checks on the audio within the chamber. In the meantime, I think the difficulty arises when we try to speak over each other and we're not clear into the mics. So I'm asking the question now, can you hear me? Yep. When we speak clearly into the mics, we can be heard. When we step back from the mics or we speak over one another, that's where the difficulty arises. Notwithstanding that issue, we are trying to see if we can find improvements, because obviously in the dynamic nature of a full council meeting, we wish to be able to hear everybody. My understanding of the situation following GSP is that Ellen is either in correspondence with the NAC or is trying to ascertain from NAC the benefits of NAC membership and the benefits potentially of having a chair from this council on NAC. And she has also approached the member in question to ask the member in question what he sees are the benefits in taking up the chair's role. Am I correct in that? Yep. And additionally, we are also checking with the member and the NAC the possibility of remote attendance at some or all of the meetings and whether that is possible or effective. So we don't have that information yet, members, but we're in the process of attaining it, and we will bring it back in a further paper when we have that information.
Okay. Councillor Tierney.
Glad I clarified that. Chief Executive, is it, in your view, appropriate to ask a member with a clear conflict of interest to outline the benefits of something that he may benefit from, to provide this council with information to make a decision? Is that appropriate?
Through you, Mayor, this is a members' organisation. Colleagues, this is a matter for members to consider. It is the members' union, effectively. So we are asking members to articulate the benefits. We're asking, essentially, when we ask NAC, we are asking members to articulate the benefits of membership. It is a matter for members to ascertain whether they find it beneficial or not. We're simply, as officers, trying to facilitate that process.
Members, I think John is right. It's difficult for officers to respond to a question where it is about us as members of this council. It is our union. So I think to wait for NIC to give us the information is appropriate, but there is still a proposal on the table here, which we need to make a decision on. So I would ask we make a decision on that proposal, which is still really about waiting, but supporting one meeting. Is that what, Councillor Jackson, if I am right? So are members content with that approach?
Mayor,
can I take a vote on this issue, please?
Could I just come back on?
Is that Alderman Guy?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Just what I was saying there. Obviously, I had mentioned that, maybe people didn't hear me, that Alderman Hussey would find out more information when he was away at the meeting and relay it back to council. As I had also said that if officers had not found out the right information at present, then could it all be deferred until Alderman Hussey comes back again? Now, if council want to take a vote on whether to support Councillor Hussey or Alderman Hussey in payment for this weekend, then that's entirely up to council now. But mine's was just, he will come back with the proper information on whether he can, what the cost will be, how relevant does he attend certain meetings, can it be done online, all those questions answered. Myself, I am attending online today because I'm at work, which you're allowed to do, as far as I know, with when it was allowed again that online meetings would be acceptable to this council. Maybe people have problems with that, but that's what it's there for.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Okay, members. Yeah. Is that proposal seconded? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a vote on this proposal. Do we need clarification on the proposal, just to be clear again? Could we have that proposal?
Yeah, can we get the proposal?
Yeah, can we get it
please?
on the screen, please?
Well, if it helps, just to clarify the proposal, it was discussed at the the committee meeting, was that this council covers the costs associated with the November meeting. They allow further time, but it will essentially the reasons behind that, the rationale behind that, have been well rehearsed, and they allow for further information to be considered before taking a decision on any future meetings. And just for further clarification, the Alderman Guy, I support people attending remotely. I welcome remote attendance, and the suggestion, the potential solution to this is that the vice chair of this particular body continues to attend those meetings remotely as well, to avoid any costs to council. So that's, but in this instance, the proposal is that this council covers the costs associated with the November meeting. They await further information. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Mayor. I've broadly supportive of the proposal, providing that it is for the November meeting until we get further information. But I would like to make it clear that I believe that further information should come from the NAC. We should not be asking a member who is going to benefit from something to provide information to help us make a decision on something that he will benefit from. I think that's inappropriate. I think the information that we get back should come directly from the NAC and not from a councillor who is travelling to a meeting. That does not sit well with me at all. The information that we get to make that informed decision should come from the NAC and not from a councillor.
I think that should be okay, Councillor Tierney. But just to clarify, for myself, actually, this time, is Alderman Jose representing himself in NIC or representing all the members of this council? Because that's the union for members of the council. Maybe just a clarification on that too. So that's another clarification we might need to understand, to know the benefits, if it is benefit for all members and we have a representative, or it is a benefit for a specific member who is a member of the NIC. Okay, Alderman Mahmoud.
Thanks, Mayor. It indicated some time ago to get in, but I just want to clarify that is my understanding that the councillor is representing council. And also just in regards to the options of coming in here and actually going online, there is benefits 100% from being online. It does cut down costs or whatever, but we have to ask ourselves, everybody in this chamber today, if anybody makes a claim against their petrol or expenses here, it's the exact same thing. The distance or anything is irrelevant. The legislation gives members the option of coming in or online, you know, and it's specifically used for the benefit of other commitments, as opposed to be something that would be held against you because you travel to a meeting that costs such amount of money. Now, I've never claimed for anything, but that's my right to do or not do, as I feel like wanting to do. And it should be the member's right to be able to claim for his expenses to go to represent council at a meeting. So we will be supporting that he's paid for the meeting that he attended. And if there's more information for the benefits of that, or whether that has to be a further discussion, then I'm happy to be part of that discussion. But just from a DUP point of view, we feel as if like the member should be compensated back for his expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Councillor Tierney, you want to come back again?
Yeah, I do, Mayor, thank you. And the more and more that I hear about this, the more and more concerned I get, to be really honest. So what we've just heard there now, and I think that's really good clarity from Alderman McMorris, Councillor Hussey, as she understands it, is representing this council as Vice Chair of the NAC. Can I ask who decided that Councillor Hussey would be this council's representative to take up that post? Because I don't remember anyone within our group being asked to make a nomination towards that. And if that's not the position, then he's not representing this council. And I think that will very clearly tie that up. But if Councillor Hussey, as Alderman McMorris understands it and has informed this council, and I think it's very useful, is representing this council, I would like to know who made the decision that he is the representative to join that, to take up that position on our behalf, because we weren't asked about it as far as I'm aware.
Councillor Cusack, and we'll prepare for that answer.
Thank you. I'd actually like to make an amendment to this because given the confusion, it gives us a bit of leeway. If we could just say council to consider covering the costs associated, then we'll know what we're dealing with when we do know what we're dealing with. Because quite frankly, I'm confused. I don't know about anybody else. And that way we're not tied. Thank you.
If that needs a seconder, I'm happy to second it, Mayor.
Yeah. Members, this is becoming really confusing. As we discuss it, it's becoming really confusing. It looks like we're not clear what NIC is all about as members. We don't know if we are represented by a member who is sent to represent us. We don't know who have nominated the member to represent us. So we may need to have a further conversation about this issue before we make any other decision.
Mayor.
Alderman Montgomery.
Yeah, like I'm confused like everybody else, but can we ask Alderman Hussey to come in to explain? No? Just to explain what his role is? No? Okay.
I think because of the conflict of interest, Alderman McMorris.
Can I just ask, was this done on the hunt system at the AGM? Were we nominated? No?
Mayor, could I bring in some clarity here, Mayor?
Alderman Guy, yes, please. Come on in if you can help.
That's Alderman Kerrigan. That's Alderman Kerrigan, Mayor. I had indicated in the chat box, yes. Mayor, one of the factors here is we're going around in circles here, and the difficulty I see is we have 8 representatives appointed. I'm not going to read the names out, but there are 8 representatives appointed at the AGM of the first of this council, and that stayed under the hunt for the 4 years. Sinn Féin have 3. I won't read the names. There are 2 SDLP, there are 2 DUP, and there's 1 Ulster Unionist. And I will be fair, I attend the vast majority of the meetings. There are meetings I miss, but apart from when the NAC met in this council, it was the only time I saw a member of the SDLP or Sinn Féin attending it. So if the members who are appointed from the different political parties attended the meetings, and there was one this morning online, you could attend online or in person down in Coleraine. And I was attended online because I'll tell you, I have a bit of a bug on me here and I don't want to pass it on to the rest of you. And I haven't then attended the chamber today meeting. But as far as I am aware, this position rotates around the political parties. And on this occasion, it is the turn of the Ulster Unionists to have this position, and Alderman Hussey has been appointed. It is not a position which has been specifically appointed from Derry City and Strabane District Council. So that is where it is, but that is what Alderman Hussey is attending. But I do emphasise that if members who are entitled to attend and vote at an NAC meeting. Any of the 462 councillors can attend an NAC meeting, but there are 8 representatives from our council who are entitled to attend and vote. And as I say, it is oftentimes there are only 2. So if the members who are, and I don't want to read the names out to embarrass members, but you can look it up on an email who is meant to be there representing their parties, and they're not representing them, they're not attending, and they've the option to do it online, as has been emphasised earlier by Councillor Jackson. But if they knew that, there would be a lot more clarity in the chamber. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Carrigan, thank you for the explanation. Members, I'm going to allow a break 10 minutes before we come back because there's a lot of movement and that suggests people are a bit tired. And then we will come back and I'll come back to you, Councillor Tierney, to ask that question. Please just take a 10 minutes break. And they can talk about it and think about it.
The fundamental issue is
Yeah. I hope everybody enjoyed the small break. Picking up from where we left, Councillor Tierney.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the break as well. It was much welcome. In relation to the proposal that is before us, which states that we cover the cost of the November meeting, we're happy to support, providing we get the information back from the NEC in relation to the questions that we have asked. But I think it's important to note, and I did ask a few questions around the nomination process for this post following Alderman McMorris's contribution. Alderman Kerrigan's contribution, in my mind, was further enlightening. Alderman Kerrigan told us that this position rotates around political parties, and the political parties appoint who takes up this position. So effectively, the bill that ratepayers are going to be picking up for this, if it's agreed, is being cast upon us by the Ulster Unionist Party, who, according to Alderman Kerrigan, Alderman Hussey will be representing when he's at these meetings. Why are the Ulster Unionist Party not picking up the tab for this? And why is it being left to ratepayers across Derry and Strabane? If that's who he's going to be representing, then I have no issue with him doing that. But why are we being asked to pick up the tab when it's the Ulster Unionist Party who are putting them into this position and unilaterally bullying our ratepayers for that benefit?
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Can I check, members, if there's anybody else who wants to contribute to this issue now? Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, it's probably, I think that this should probably go into like some sort of policy working group. I think that's very hard to track this out. I don't see, and I think I probably, and I was reminded, I think I might have voted 10 years ago that we shouldn't even be a member of the NEC because I don't think there's any value in it that we get, and that's what it's currently £3,200. I don't think we should get it. But I think that it's probably unfair in a sense that to pick this one out, that we look and at the AGM, as somebody rightly pointed out, we appoint through members of this council, we appoint people that represent this council at external bodies. Now, when we normally do that, we think it's within the region, mostly of this council area. It may extend further out to maybe Belfast or Antrim or whatever. But when we start talking about overseas and councillors just jumping on a plane or a boat or something and saying, I take 3 days of this and I want all my grub and my food and my this and travel and this. I think that's exceeding, what the intention of the travel policy was. So I think we should chuck it into a policy group and not personalise it to any individual councillor and say, this is our policy. This is what happens when we get elected to external bodies. This is what we do. And possibly saying there needs to be confirmation beforehand, not just taking it upon themselves as a councillor to say, I'm going here. Any given month, we get 10 invites at least and through, come to this conference, come to that conference. You're a councillor, you're this. You could be travelling 3/4 of the world if these people were inviting you, and then at the bottom of that, it's £500 to attend this conference. And you're going, hey, come on. So there needs to be, it's probably timely, 10 years in, that we look at the policy and we firm it up and we don't individualise it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Okay, members, there's a proposal on the table. Am I right to assume, Councillor Tierney, you have seconded the proposal? No? Okay. You seconded the proposal? Okay. Could I get a vote? So we're going to do a recording vote for this because of online. So, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Cook.
Or
Alderman Carrigan. Sorry, Alderman Guy, you're online?
Yeah, 4, John.
Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Alderman Carrigan. Alderman McMorris.
or
Alderman Middleton.
For John.
Alderman Montgomery.
Or
Alderman Wilkinson.
Or
Councillor Jason Barr.
Abstain, John.
Councillor Lillian Barr.
For
Councillor Raymond Barr. Councillor Boggs. Councillor Boyle.
Or
Councillor Clark. Councillor Cusick.
if my amendment was ignored, against.
Councillor Deeney.
Aye.
Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Councillor Donnelly.
Against.
Councillor Alex Duffy is not here, correct? Councillor Sandra Duffy.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
Sorry, Councillor Alex Duffy.
Ta.
Thank you. Councillor Sandra Duffy.
Ta.
Councillor Farrell. Thank you. Councillor Fleming.
Ta.
Councillor Gallagher.
against.
Councillor Harkin. Councillor Hart. Councillor Heaney. Councillor Hutton.
Ta.
Councillor Jackson. Councillor Leonard. Councillor Logue.
Or
Councillor McDade.
or
Councillor McGinley. Councillor McHugh. Councillor Mooney. Councillor O'Farrell. Councillor Tierney. Councillor Nevis. Thank you, members. Anyone online I've missed?
Yeah, Carrigan, 4.
You missed me, John, too. Councillor Riley, 4.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Mayor, I've recorded 31 for, 4 against and 2 abstentions, so the proposal passes.
Okay, members, thank you. Maybe we could call Alderman Hussein to come back in. How many people was expelled from the Thank you. Okay, members, before we proceed, I'm going to bring back, is it Karen, to speak on Alderman Chelsea Cook question, yeah?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Members, as you're aware, we have been working on projects to develop and enhance lighting in a number of our council parks. I've asked the team to bring forward a report in relation to this for December Environment and Regeneration Committee, and we can update members at that stage on where we are in terms of which particular parks have lights and which parks we're working on in terms of projects to enhance and provide lights on those parks. So we will bring a report to ENR in December.
Alderman Cook, are you content with that?
Yep, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cook. Okay, moving
Mayor,
on.
could I come in on the same item, please?
Someone online?
Yeah, Mayor, Councillor Riley, just on the same item, and thank you to Karen for that report and also to Councillor or Alderman Cook for raising it. It's just a flag as well. Last night at one of the various different meetings that's taken place across the waterside, there was a well-attended public meeting up in on Cree where people talked around the need for the floodlights on council-owned floodlight playing pitches. which is interfering with the ability of people to walk around the park. So in contrast to situations where sometimes there is not enough adequate light, in this instance, it seems that there's too much light coming from the floodlights into the park and therefore blinding people as they walk around some of the park where it borders onto the council floodlights. So I have registered that with Karen following last night's meeting, but it may be useful to incorporate some investigations into that difficulty in our public parks when she's bringing back the report to ENR next month. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair, members, that particular issue relates to not a GAA facility rather than council, but we will liaise with the relevant club and try and resolve that as best we can. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, moving on. Item 13B, monthly planning committee held on Wednesday, 6 November 2024, pages 79 to 96 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Any matters arising? Councillor Harkin?
Thank you for letting me in, Mayor. It's 13B P168/24. Look, members will be aware that there's a lot of feeling in the areas around McGee about concern about the changing character of the area and HMO development. And we'll be aware that there is a very big meeting held in the Glen and another very big meeting held in Rosemount recently. And there will be further meetings held about this. And residents are also very aware of the McGee Task Force commitment to do a full engagement with community and take on community concerns in regard to developments in the area. So there's very strong feeling about what's happening. And I would say residents are very eager to engage with the local planning policy once it's actually implemented next year, and are eager to get going with council and with the task force on that. And there was a discussion at the last planning committee meeting and a decision made to accept an application. I want to say a few things about that. I spoke on behalf of the residents. I was an objector to the decision. Now, this decision was more or less the exact same application that came to council, came to planning committee less than a year ago, and was rejected, in my opinion, rightly by the committee. It went to appeal on the side of the developer, and the planning commissioner upheld the decision of the council. Now, this proposal came back to council less than a year since it was rejected twice, with a slight addition, meaning it went from 6 rooms as a HMO to 5, but it was more or less the exact same application with very little changes. And my concern is that at the meeting, I believe that the legal advice our planning committee was given made them feel that they had no option other than to vote this application through. And members were led to believe that if they didn't accept it, the council perhaps would face a legal challenge, a judicial challenge from the developer. So I think they should be concerned, the council should be concerned about judicial challenges coming from residents who are going to these meetings of 70 and 80, 90 people and who've created a new residents group, and they need to look at that very carefully right now. I think that the scope for committee members was very much limited, and there's a few examples where I believe if they had been given the option, they could have looked at this differently. And I go to, first of all, Mayor, Section 46 of the Planning Act for Northern Ireland 2011, and this would have given the committee the power to determine a similar application within 2 years of the previous refusal by the council or appeal decision by the PAC. Number one, the council may decline to determine a relevant application if any of the conditions in the subsections 2 or 4 are satisfied. B, the council thinks there has been no significant change in the relevant considerations since the relevant event. Number two, the condition is that in the period of 2 years ending with the date on which the application mentioned in subsection 1 is received, the department has refused a similar application. Number three, the condition is that the period the Planning Appeals Commission has dismissed an appeal, A, against the refusal of a similar application, or B, under section 60 in respect of a similar application. Now, this is outlined clearly, and this could have been outlined, in my belief, to the councillors that were there. Number two, and I'm going to go through these very briefly because I'm not going to take up a lot of time. Number two, health and well-being was dismissed as it couldn't be considered, yet a core planning principle is health and well-being of the residents of a particular area. Therefore, it should have been considered. Number three, emergency services were not consulted regarding their concerns about access to the street. Now, the planning commissioner herself, when she came to visit, and her basis for rejecting the appeal application was because she herself got trapped on the street and a car coming at her because of traffic congestion had to reverse out the other way. Number four, in the planning commissioner's report, it was noted that the agent didn't carry out a robust planning survey, did not carry out a robust planning survey. And the danger here is that any application now doesn't have to carry out a robust planning survey because this application got through without one. It doesn't matter that the DFA didn't oppose it. It didn't have a robust planning survey. These are all reasons that our committee members could have been given if they were looking for a basis to reject the application, which they had done before and which our council had spoken in favour of defending this decision when I went to the Planning Appeals Committee. And finally, the planning commissioner's report, when she upheld the decision, wasn't meant to set any kind of precedent for future decisions. So this is a very serious matter, and I would like some guidance as to what council believes can be done in response to this. But the issue is residents, and this has happened prior to the consultation through the task force, prior to the implementation of the local development plan, so I think a lot of people felt that this was a predetermined decision and that the council should have actually offered more leeway for committee members to make a different decision as they had done before. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Other member.
Mayor, through you, members were provided at the Planning Committee with a detailed report. They had the benefit of the opportunity of speaking and questioning officers in relation to the matter. They also had the opportunity of receiving legal advice in relation to the matter. I'm quite content that all information that should have been provided to elected members at that committee meeting was provided to members at that committee meeting. Obviously, if the residents feel that there was any error in law made in relation to the decision that was taken, then they have recourse in relation to that.
Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a member of planning. Like I can appreciate previous speakers' concerns and all that. However, I have to say that this is probably the wrong venue for bringing this up. I think that if people want to bring a legal challenge or go to PAC, I think that's the place to do it. And I think that members should be well aware that the planning committee decisions are delegated authority. And once they're made they're made. That's what we do. Now, if mistakes, I'm sure mistakes, we always make them, you know, but if they're identified, then we can try our best to rectify them going forward, or we can redirect where people should go. They want to take legal challenges to decisions made by planning, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me in, and I won't take up a whole lot of time. I just have two very quick questions. Question one, I suppose, is really for Councillor Harkin, who has obviously done quite a lot of work with all of the documentation that he's read out and informed us of. First question would be, was this information that he presented to the planning committee whenever he spoke on behalf of residents? And if not, why not? And the second question would be for officers, mainly either the city solicitor or the chief executive. What was different in terms of the presentation of this application and every other application that we present before the planning committee? I.e., what documentation, why or was this presented in any way different?
Philip.
So, members, if I may perhaps deal with both of Councillor Tierney's questions in relation to that. I think Councillor Harkin, to be fair to him, is raising points in terms of legal matters and stating issues that exist within the planning legislation. Obviously, in any report which is brought to the planning committee, all legal issues, the planning legislation, the core is front and centre in relation to that, as is policy in relation to that. And it wasn't for any individual or any individual objector to raise a specific point in the legislation and say, reference in relation to that, because officers we would be considering in relation to this. The position was, in summary, in relation to this, the position is actually reasonably straightforward. As Councillor Harkin indicated, the planning committee considered an application for a 6-bedroom HMO, which the members refused. The matter was appealed to the PAC, and the PAC made a decision in relation to that matter where they decided to refuse that application on specific grounds, and only on those specific grounds. The new application that came forward addressed the specific grounds of concern that the PAC had rejected the application on. Once those specific grounds of concern had been addressed and the PAC had indicated that otherwise the matter would have been approved, then to an extent the hands of the planning committee are tied, because there has already been a ruling of the PAC on those issues. And so there is limited scope in relation to those matters. Now, we had a couple of applications that came before the committee at that planning committee meeting, which had got similar points in relation to previous PAC decisions. But the fact of the matter is that the planning process is one which involves outside scrutiny. It is one which involves an external appeal mechanism, and the council cannot ignore the findings of those external appeal mechanisms. And that's the point that was placed to the committee in relation to the matter. So in terms of, yes, similar applications certainly, can be rejected whenever they come in, if they're brought in within 2 years. But this wasn't a similar application in terms of law. It was a new application where the specific grounds of refusal had been specifically addressed by the applicant coming forward. So it would have been impossible for the council to refuse to consider it in a manner which would stand up to scrutiny on the grounds of it being a similar application. So that's the nub of the point, elected members.
Councillor Harkin, I'll come back to you. I have Councillor Mooney.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the speakers there. I did sit on that plan application and I did listen to and I did sit on the previous application as well the year before. And really what the city solicitor did say there, I should take one note only that certainly what Councillor Harkin said, and I hope I'm actually accurately reflecting what he said, is that in no way did the city solicitor influence my decision making. He's there to give advice. Before I went to committee, I read the papers and I read the judgment from last year that was arrived down from June from the Planning and Appeals Commission and the Commissioner's judgment. And that, in my mind, reinforced the situation where appeals, when in my experience, are appeals can either help you or they can hinder you. In this case, the appeal and the fresh application, as the city solicitor laid out, kind of boxed us in a way. That's where our decision came to. Unfortunately, that was the decision arrived. But when I was looking at it and I read the judgment, it gave us limited capacity to do anything as a committee. Or in my mind, I should speak for myself, obviously not anybody else. But in my mind, I had a limited capacity to operate in. If I thought I could make an overturn decision, I couldn't because of what the judgment said and all relevant planning considerations. There may have been extraneous factors that we can't take into consideration. They were immaterial. And on the basis of what I found, I came to my decision, not through anybody else's influences, but through my own decision making, to my own ability to read the papers and to peruse the papers and to take on board what was said by the officers and by the objectors, which I had great sympathy for. But on this occasion, the decision I came to, based on what was put in front of me and all the relevant material, that was the only decision I could come to. So nobody in here, I did find value in assistance of the city solicitor when he was asked the question about what would constitute possibly a binding precedent on the basis of stare decisis. But on that basis, he came back with a judgment from Mr. Joseph Humphreys in the Abbo case, which clarified conditions on what would constitute a binding precedent for planning committee members. That advice I found was helpful, but it was one part of the advice that came to my decision-making process. So in no way did the city solicitor influence me and came to my own decisions through all available relevant material. So thank you for the opportunity, Councillor Harkin, for bringing it to committee. But in my mind, when I actually proposed the decision or the recommendation, that was the grounds that I based it on, was planning policy and all the relevant grounds that we had to do. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mayor. And just on a similar vote or a similar note, I expressed my frustration at the committee around the constraints that were placed on us. But I just want to point out, and Councillor Harkin was there, he heard it, he heard the reasons, and there was a number of questions in relation to the legal process, the direction that was given from PAC, and issues that the committee considered or previously took into consideration, such as access, movement and parking and residential character. And I just, from my own personal perspective, I want to state that I received all the information that I required. I believe that any questions that I asked, I got a full, comprehensive answer, and it allowed me to endorse the decision that was taken at committee. Albeit it was frustrating, but I feel that any attempt to put the blame on officers is disgraceful. So I just want to clear, but from my own perspective is that I received all information that was available to me, and I wanted to thank officers for giving me a full and comprehensive answer to any question that I asked. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Harkin.
Mayor, look, I think using the word disgraceful is just out of order. It's perfectly legitimate for me or for residents and to raise questions about decisions that are being made without being told that it's disgraceful. I think it's fine to question what officers do. I don't see the problem in that. One, It's my understanding that residents wouldn't have the right to go to the planning commission to object to this. Is that correct? It's only developers. So there's an inbuilt problem with the way this system works, and that is clearly frustrating a lot of people. So they can't, their only option would be to take legal action on this, which nobody wants to do, of course. But this is a big issue for many people, many residents right across the district. In the meeting, I got to present for 5 minutes, and so did a resident. There was no questions for me. Not that I'm an expert in planning, but I didn't get a single question from any committee members, nor did the resident. The applicant wasn't even there, so there was no questions to the applicant. They didn't turn up for the meeting. There was some back and forth, obviously, between committee members and officers. I believe that that I think what officers explained was part of what they should have told the committee, but I also think that it could have been widened out to allow committee members to feel that they could reject the proposal. And I think it sets a very bad precedent when somebody gets rejected by the council in November, then again, straight away, gets rejected again by the PAC, and then comes back to the council a couple of months later with more or less the exact same proposal and gets it through. What does that tell us? It doesn't tell residents that they are going to be able to influence what happens around planning decisions. And I think a number of the things that I've outlined are things that we need to look at if there was a willingness, and I believe that's part of the issue. Because this was an application that Ulster University had initially sent out a letter of support without engaging or consulting with residents or having any understanding, which they then withdrew because they could see there was a serious problem. I don't think that there was a lot of willingness, in my opinion, to see this more or less exact same application be rejected again. I don't think it's a disgrace to say that I believe more could have been presented to committee members to give them more leeway, but it's clear to me, despite the fact that members are saying they made up their minds by themselves, that they heavily relied on the information that they were given on the day by council officers. And so I think that residents will have to think about what they need to do going forward. But I also think that this is something our council has to take on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Mooney.
Chair, it's just I think there's a couple of follow-ups here. I know Councillor Harkin mentioned that we didn't ask questions of him. The plan committee, there's the protocols and orders doesn't allow fellow members to ask questions of members who come to present to the committee. So that's why we couldn't ask questions. You are correct. There's no third-party appeal rights on the Planning Act. It's only applicants who are privy, those parties who are privy to the application. So third parties are not. They don't have any rights to go to the PAC. So therefore, their only avenues probably judicial review or matters like that there, or maybe perhaps lobbying local councillors. Again, I'm going to point out. I'm going to reiterate that. We were advised, as we always are, on our committee meetings by our professional planning officers. They come in and they prepare the packs and they're there for questions. The lady who presented to the committee, it's up to members' discretion if they feel they have any relevant questions they ask. My memory was that she presented a very comprehensive report to the committee and gave her 5 minutes to the committee. But on that basis, again, I will reiterate that I had enough information for allowing me to make the requisite decision that I made. And again, I will put forward that all the relevant information was there that I required, and I firmly believe that planning officers made a proper present us with proper details and information. And also, when questions were asked of the legal officer in question, he provided those details comprehensively and professionally. So on that basis, I'm happy and content that I made that decision on the best advices available. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. Councillor Donnelly.
I'm not good, Chair, and I don't claim to be an expert in this, putting it mildly, but what I do know is that the attitude of some people in this council Councillor Harkin is an elected representative. He is in here expressing the concerns of people within the community, and that's his job. And to carry out that process and to be described as a disgrace, because that's what you're saying when you're saying it's disgraceful, is wrong. And we've seen this before, again, with planning issues where people were accused of being involved in a witch hunt. Is it any wonder that amongst a significant section of people in this city that the reputation of planning is in the gutter? It's not. It's not surprising. And if people in here continue to have that attitude towards elected representatives, then it doesn't do it any good. It just adds petrol to the proverbial fire, and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Councillor Tierney. Thanks, Councillor Donnelly.
We hear regularly concerns being raised on here about planning, and we hear phrases like the reputation of planning is on the gutter. I don't think that's true. I don't think that that's true. I don't think it's anywhere near the truth, to be quite honest with you. There are very few people across this district who I speak to who criticise our planning department. They're mainly within this chamber, to be quite honest with you. We hear criticisms of a minority of planning applications from people within this chamber. Now, I don't know, but I'm sure officers could tell me monthly how many decisions are actually approved and go through this committee and continue on to development. So to say that the reputation of the planning department is in the gutter is completely untrue, in my opinion. And I think that should be considered by the member who said it, and I think it should be withdrawn, to be quite honest with you. Mayor, I sit on 4 committees currently at the minute in this council: audit, governance and strategic planning, health and communities, and environment and regeneration. And all 4 of those committees, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, I rely heavily on all of the officers that report to those committees to provide me with the information that I need to make a decision on behalf of the people that I represent. Councillor Harkin has criticised members of the planning committee for relying too heavily on professional planners. Are we saying that we shouldn't be relying on professional, trained people to provide us with the right information to make informed decisions? Or do we just pluck these decisions out of the air because we feel like it? And to quote Councillor Donnelly, when we're listening to professional planners, that's their job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mayor. I was biting my tongue quite a bit through that, but I think it's about where I see the constant attack on those that are providing a service for the people of the city and district, and they're constantly under attack from some elected representatives within this chamber. And believe it or not, I do respect the mandate of all elected representatives on here. It's very clear that some don't respect the mandate of the vast majority. They think that their voice is the only voice that matters. Democracy is at play within here, and just because you think something, believe something, doesn't mean that you direct the entire chamber. And I can wholeheartedly say, from our perspective, and I know Councillor Tierney relayed the views of the SDLP, but we back our planning service and the professional planning officers 100%. And from our perspective, we believe that we do have some of the best in the business. Some people that are truly committed to providing a top state-of-the-art planning service. I do believe that there's issues that can that need to be improved. But it's not down to any employee of our council. We believe that there needs to be a review of planning. They look at ways that we can streamline processes, that we can help support our planning officers. They ease workloads, provide more information up front from applicants, things like that. Those that are raising these concerns have blocked the changes that would help improve our planning process. You know, there's those that are constantly trying to block progress within our council area. You know, that's and again, I respect that mandate to do so, but there's 3 or 4 of you. There's 40 of us in this council chamber, and the vast majority want to see delivery, want to see a planning system that is the best in this island, that is going to attract investment, and that takes an enabling approach to development to help resolve the housing crisis, to help build the economy and rebalance the economy in the north. So whenever we're talking about respecting people's mandate, that goes both ways. People need to understand that whilst they've got a mandate from the people, it doesn't mean more than the mandate that the rest of us have, and that respect needs to go both ways. But in respect to our team that provide the service within our planning department, from being on the planning committee from its inception, I can wholeheartedly say that we have dedicated officers that their integrity should never be questioned, and that the advice that we're receiving is second to none. So, and I have absolutely no concern in that regard. So, thanks, Mayor, for allowing the opportunity to come on.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson, and I wholeheartedly agree with what you have said there. Councillor Gallagher.
You meant for letting us in. And I respectfully say to Councillor Harkin, who's brought this up, I don't agree with him on this occasion. I don't think this is the right venue for it. I think it could have been maybe dealt with through internal mechanisms, and some clarity could have been given, and then allowed him to make decisions elsewhere. I think that might have been best for this. But I come back to the previous speaker around might is right. You know, I was like, it's not a place where this council should go. That might is right. On many occasions, single voices in this chamber, I have continuously raised issues. And I'll give you one example, the airport. I was slaughtered in here on the airport and told to shut up and all the rest, right? We haven't rehearsed in here, but we were successful in that. Another occasion was around tendering processes of this council. And there was a number of minority voices, and we were told to shut up. We were told we were daydreaming. We were told this. And after internal and external evaluations and reviews and investigations, there were 67 recommendations that were made to change our processes. And that came about from minority voices. And the majority of the time was telling us we weren't right. But memory, and you have to have a good memory in here, because you get run over very quick by some people that are very forgetful. And we are currently spending thousands of pounds reviewing some of the decisions that this council has taken. So why are we doing that? Why is that? We've had legal advice upon legal advice. And then we've had now an independent group that are carrying out a process. Why are we doing that? Majority voices wrong. Are they not right to be heard? And they say you respect the mandate. You respect the mandate as long as you agree with the majority. And I got the feeling and I got the sense, that going by the past 10 years and going by the next 10 years, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I could say a whole lot of things, but I prefer not to. But I'll finish on a lot of people in the past have advocated that might was right, and they found out not to be true. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. I have Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose I go back to a time, and there may be others in the chamber, when decisions were not made by elected members with regard to planning. It was the planning department who made those decisions. And I found that quite inappropriate. We're now in a situation where it is elected members who make the decisions, and it's done by an autonomous committee, the planning committee. I do have concerns with some of those decisions, and I've done the planning training. I did it before I was ever on the planning committee, and that planning training was available to any member to have that training so that they know what they're talking about. Should it be in my case when I go in to represent somebody in the planning committee, at least I have a bit of background knowledge. And perhaps those who complain most could seek from our planning department permission or the opportunity to do some of that training and learn more about the planning process. It balks me at times when the minutes of the planning committee come in to council, and there's not a hit the council can do about it. It's an autonomous committee. It gets on with its business. And I have to say I respect the officers who service the planning committee, and I respect the members of the planning committee as well in their work. I mightn't always agree with it, but I can respect what's going on there. And, I'm concerned when somebody would suggest that everything is not quite right. From what I see, I'm content with the planning. The arrangements, I'm not content with some of the outcomes, but content with the arrangements that are there, that this council operates. But remember, there was a time when councillors did not have a say at all. It was planning officers from the department who made the decisions. We now have a situation where it's local elected representatives. And of course, when it comes round to the selection of the next planning committee, I have noted in the past that quite often spaces are still available when certain people come to make their choices. So if they're that much concerned about the planning committee, let them put their application in to be on the planning committee. Personally, I prefer to stay off it because I want to represent my electors. And to do that, they're not allowed to lobby me, so I prefer to stay off it and make representation to the committee when necessary. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Jose. Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend that particular planning committee meeting. I think it's the first I've missed in a very, very, very long time, but for very obvious reasons, I couldn't be there on that occasion. I have reviewed it back. I have watched back the entire content of that particular meeting, but an awful lot of the narrative that we've heard here is reflected in what I saw in relation to this application and many others as well. And I don't really have too much to add to it, but I do find it very interesting that there's such an interest in this chamber and the workings of the planning committee and the planning department. And it is, of course, it's an individual choice which committee you may well want to be on when it comes around to the annual general meeting every year. But I think it's worth pointing out once again, and it's been alluded to by Alderman Hussey, If you want to be on the planning committee, there usually are spaces available. In fact, in my experience, and that is now 11 years of sitting on the planning committee, possibly 12, it's so long now. I have noticed that pretty much the last committee that fills up under the DeHunt system of appointment is the planning committee. It's almost like, and I'm not criticising any one individual, but I think there's always been an opportunity there for elected members, whether they be members of political parties or individuals, to find a space on that committee. That's always been my experience. And so I look forward to next year's AGM, and I look forward to maybe seeing some new faces on the planning committee. I would welcome that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. Members, Councillor Harkin? Yeah.
All right, Lillian, Keith has indicated to speak from 1703 and hasn't been allowed
Online?
in. Yeah.
All right, okay. Alderman Kerrigan, do you want to come in and then I'll bring you last? Is there any other member who is looking to come in?
Thank you very much, Mayor. No, just would concur with a lot of the comments that are stated in particular.
Councillor Alderman Kerrigan,
Speak up.
closer to your mic, please, so we can all hear you.
I can't, although you can't see me, I can't get much closer. But Mayor, just to concur with comments there, I didn't agree fully with comments earlier from Councillor Jackson, but closer to his comments there.
Raise your voice then.
I'll raise it as loud as I can, Mayor. No, and in regards to the application, and as Councillor Mooney did touch upon, I was content that we had the appropriate level of information to make the decision. There's a very detailed pack which is produced by the planning officers to a very, very high standard. And we had the opportunity to question officers if we felt we needed to. And again, we had legal advice there also. So I personally was very content with the decision that I made on the application in question, which Councillor Harkin is raising. I do feel that some of the comments that have been raised there are poor, to say the least. I from my dealing in my area, I do not have planning as being a subject that has been down in the dumps, or the comments in regards from Councillor Downey in regards to planning. I don't see that there is a massive negative impact out there in regards to planning. It's just not the case. There are occasions where individuals maybe don't get their planning permission, but they take it on the chin. They maybe will try a different occasion or a different site. But and again, I know that members there are applications where I have to step out because I have connected with it or connected to the individual, which case then you're hopeful that they may be successful, but you step out from those decisions. But I have complete trust and in the integrity and of the quality of the staff that we have in the planning department and the work and the professionalism that they hold. And I just feel that there's very negative comments continually from the same corner in regards to the chamber and regards to planning. And as has been stated, I may just correct slightly, Councillor Boyle. It's usually the Audit Assurance Committee is the very last one to be filled, but second last is nearly always planning. There are seats available on it under the hunt, and there's oftentimes they are overlooked by members when they have opportunity. So if they wish to come on board and sit in that committee and have their input there at the decisions, but that's often not the case. But no, just to reiterate, the party position is that we are content with the professionalism and integrity in our planning staff. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Harkin, 1 minute, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, I mean, the system doesn't work for the vast majority of people. So if you're part of the minority that tries to resist that, it's an uphill battle a lot of the time. So that's a full discussion. And we can look at the role of minorities in history and how they became majorities. I didn't question the integrity of the council officers. I says that I think that it could have been widened out to give council officers more options, or council committee members more options. I still believe that. And I've taken planning advice on this. And when our people have looked at the PAC report and they've looked at the applications, they believe that there was wider scope for the committee to look at. So that's not a question of integrity. That's just saying I think that there was wider options that members should have been allowed to consider. I think it's right that committee members take on board the advice of council officers. They're paid to do that. They're experts in their field. But I also think it's okay to question it, especially when there's decisions that are made that are angering a large number of residents and are connected to big issues that are happening in the city. And I think that that's what's at stake here. So, you know, and I'm at this meeting because this is my opportunity to raise this for full council to discuss, because I think it's that important. And there's a lot more to say, Mayor, and I appreciate that you've given me a wee bit more time there.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Okay, I'm going to move on now to the next item, which is item 13C, special meeting of the Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, 7th November 2024, pages 97 to 102 for accuracy. Thank you, Councillor McDade. Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Any matters arising? Yeah, okay, Philip.
Members, item SHC 21 of 24, which is the license agreement between the council and the promoters. Members approved at under delegated authority at that meeting a 5-day license. Now the promoter subsequently has advised us that in fact that the total setup and takedown time for the tent and for the concert is going to be 8 days rather than 5 days, members, and in fact construction has started on site on the 18th of December. So members, I'm seeking retrospective approval for that a proposal to be changed to an 8-day license rather than a 5-day license. And to reflect the additional days, LPS have reassessed the premium due and have indicated a premium of £2,400. So subject to members granting approval for that today, that's all good to go.
Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose that. I'm assuming that there's been work done around any football matches and all, and just giving them an opportunity to go elsewhere if it's going to impact on that, the same as the previous paper, but I'm happy to propose it. Thank you.
Councillor Houghton?
Yeah, happy to second as well, Mayor.
Thank you. Karen? Karen McFarland, do you need to respond to that? No. Okay. All right.
I was just on options around others booking football matches.
Options? Yeah, other bookings. Is it going to affect any other bookings?
There will be limited impact. We've assessed that, and I think the majority of the infrastructure is on the Shield pitch currently. So we are monitoring that, and I suppose, protective fencing that's been set up is aiming to secure the hard core areas and to avoid intrusion onto the pitch.
Okay.
And where there would be, should there be, we will facilitate in other pitches.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Are members content with that proposal? It has been seconded. Okay, thank you, members. Moving on, monthly Environment and Regeneration Committee held on Wednesday, 13th November 2024 for accuracy. Thank you. Any seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Hart. Matters arising? No, thank you very much. Moving on, monthly Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, 14th November 2024 for accuracy. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alderman. Any matters arising? No, thank you very much.
Mayor, could I come in there?
Who is that?
Alderman Guy.
Thank you. All right, come on up.
Just going back to here, HC 277/24, and it was the Ireland twig from Cooperation Ireland. The voice, I'd actually met with her when you were in America last week, and she has asked if she could possibly present to committee just to inform members about what she's actually doing. This is obviously she's managed to secure funding for a fourth project centered around communities within the city, and she hopes to expand it this time round. So if she could maybe come in and present to the appropriate committee, we much appreciated.
Alderman Guy, who is she?
Ireland Twig. That is her name. I know it doesn't sound her real name, but that's her name, Ireland Twig. No connection with Ireland at all. She's from America and she has no connection at all. Her parents just like the name.
Are you making that proposal then?
Yes, yes. If it's, is that okay?
Okay.
Just like the present.
Any seconder for the proposal? Yeah. You second the proposal. Okay. I suppose it would be okay to present to our committee.
We'll do that.
Well, yeah, officers will plan on that. Any other matters arising?
I can forward details. Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. And thank you for representing me. Any other matters arising? Okay, moving on to confidential. Can I have a proposal, please? Thank you, Councillor Dini. Thank you, Councillor Boyle.